A lovely Wednesday afternoon for the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Hennings producing today's show. You out there, how you be, one and all? Phils with a late night win last night. How many people stayed up to the end last night? It was about 12:20 when that game ended last night. And back at it today with an afternoon tilt. We'll be all over that and the Phils today. A lot of Phils stuff today. A lot of Eagles today. They're back at OTAs. Nick Sirianni, you'll hear from him at 3:30. You'll hear his press conference from earlier today. He spoke, and Jalen Hurts will speak a little bit later on after practice. One guy didn't show up, A.J. Brown. Newsflash, A.J. Brown will not be here this year. The days are dwindling for A.J., and as I turn around behind me, his new coach is on the screen. There is Mike Vrabel. What could he be talking about? We got a busy show. McGarry, Fastball. Kevin Cooney's back. He had a great Substack this morning that I was reading, and he basically did a little breakdown of the owner, the GM, and the coach for all four teams and gave them a score. I thought that was a fun article. We'll talk about it with him tonight at 5 o'clock on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Phils last night. It was like old times for the Phils last night, right? Felt like an old-time Phillies game. Home run from Harper. Home run from Turner. Home run from Real Muto. I was like, what year is this? And a great pitch game by Aaron Nola. It felt like 2022 all over again. Guys hitting laser bombs. When that home run that Real Muto hit, man, that thing was a blast. And Harper's homer, that was a rocket. Turner's homer, that was a bomb. And then Aaron Nola last night. I thought Aaron Nola pitched one of the best games that I've seen him pitch in a long, long time. He was excellent last night. Nola threw 80 pitches, and they turned it over, 7-8-9. Kirkring, Keller, Duran. I do want to get into Keller. We'll talk about him during Phillies Fastball today. But the 3 home runs get the job done. But like normal, it's the home runs and the home runs only. You know, they did tweak the lineup last night. So we were off the air when the lineup came out. Now, the lineup is out for today's game already, and Brandon Marsh is not in the lineup today, for those of you wondering. If you were wondering about who's taking his spot, it is not Otto Kemp today. It is Edmundo Sosa is playing left field for the Phillies. So Sosa continues to get some extra playing time here. And then you look at the lineup last night. They flipped them. Schwarber, Turner. Well, they did that again today. Schwarber, Turner. I'm interested to see. You know, they tried this a couple of years ago. Was it last year that they tried it where Schwarber hit leadoff against righties and Turner hit leadoff against lefties? They did that for a little bit. That didn't last very long. They're facing Walker Buehler today. He is a right-hander. So they guess they could be flipping them, but we don't know yet. They don't face a lefty. So Schwarber's hitting leadoff today. Turner's hitting 2. Harper's hitting 3. Then Bohm is in the 4 hole because Marsh is not playing today. And Marsh being out of the lineup has a couple other things a little shifted here. So I'll get you that lineup in just a second. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Stott is in the 5 hole. Real Muto, Garcia, Justin Crawford, and Edmundo Sosa. So they got Sosa hitting in the 9 hole today. Crawford's hitting 8th. Christopher Sanchez. You know, Christopher Sanchez has a 37 2/3 inning scoreless inning streak going right now. Does that feel like it's lost in the sauce a little bit here? This guy's got a 37 2/3 inning streak going. It's unbelievable. He is actually the favorite, I believe. The last time I looked, he was the favorite for the Cy Young. Christopher Sanchez right now is the favorite for the National League Cy Young. The last time I looked anyway. If it's changed between when he pitched on, what was that, Saturday night and now, then I didn't see that. But after his game on Saturday night, he was the betting favorite to win the Cy Young. But, with the Phils, you get Schwarber last night. He had a bad night. I mean, he had to hit late in the game. Then he ends up, I don't know what he was doing on first base. Kruk made it sound like he thought that Tatis was going to drop the ball purposefully, and that's why he kind of got stuck in no man's land. But that was just terrible base running decision. I don't think it obviously didn't affect the game, but he didn't have a big factor in the game was more my point. Turner 2 for 5 with the homer. Harper with a laser shot. Marsh was 2 for 2 before he ended up getting picked off first base and then hyperextended his finger. Now, the hyperextension of the finger, he sounds like he doesn't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that the same injury that Jordan Romano had last year? Didn't he have like a sprained finger? And not that he was doing much anyway. It kind of derailed whatever positivity he did have going for him because he did pitch well. I think in the month of May, he was like pretty darn good. And then he just was, by the way, he's been released by the Angels not too long ago. He got released, if anybody was paying attention. And Garcia went into the game for him last night in the 4th for Marsh. Bohm, who made 2 terrific plays in the field. In fact, the play he made on Machado last night, was that in the 9th or the 8th, was just an excellent play. It's a little excuse me check swinger that just kind of rolls its way towards third, and Bohm bare hands that thing all in one motion and gets the out at first base. It's funny because McCarthy's doing the play-by-play last night, and he says Machado doesn't run well. And I'm thinking, Machado doesn't run well. The guy's got concrete feet if he couldn't beat that thing out. Stott 0 for last night, but then Real Muto, I mean, my Lord, Real Muto crushed that thing last night. That thing was an atomic blast for his first home run since April the 1st. It's the last time Real Muto hit a bomb, April 1. And then Crawford, who's really struggling now. Crawford is at 229 with a 297 on base percentage. And you got some people wondering now, do the Phillies have to rethink center field? I mean, how long do you let Crawford kind of struggle along out there? We'll talk about that during the Phillies fastball today. I know a couple of people have, Jeff and Oscar have some thoughts on that as well. And then Sosa, who was 0 for 4 last night, he's down to 212 with a 244 on base percentage. So Sosa, we talked about giving him some burn in left field. They're not even letting Otto Kemp get any at bats. They're not even giving him an opportunity to get some of the platoon at bats out there. They're going strictly with Sosa out in left field, which is something, by the way, that I said. Why not try Sosa in left field if you like his right-hand at bat the most?
Well, you said in the offseason. You didn't just say it recently.
Well, right. I'm saying, why didn't they explore that in the offseason? They said, the heck with it. We don't care that he didn't play in the offseason. We're just going to throw him out there.
Right.
Which he actually made a nice play last night in left field.
He did. You were asking about the odds right now. So Sanchez is still the betting favorite. He is at plus 200 at DraftKings. Mizorowski is behind him at plus 370. Skeens is plus 400. Ohtani is plus 600.
Okay, so put a couple bucks. Where's Wheeler?
Wheeler is 40-1.
So Wheeler's an actually decent long shot proposition in my mind. 40-1. Plus, he's a feel good story.
He's 8th.
Feel good story.
Very
right?
feel good.
So if he has a season where, I don't know how wins loss doesn't really matter all that much anymore. But if he has a season where the ERA and the WHIP are among the best of all these guys, do you think the voters say, what a great story, and he finished second before, why don't we go that direction? Right now, Wheeler, he doesn't have enough innings to qualify, but his ERA is 167. His WHIP is 082.
By the way, Ohtani doesn't have innings to qualify either. He's a 073 ERA, but he only has 49 innings.
That's unbelievable. Wheeler, by the way, is at 37 innings, so he doesn't. What's the number to qualify? Do we know?
I've double checked, but I think it's 60.
I would imagine that Wheeler will definitely get there by the end of the year, as will Ohtani. And right now, Zach Wheeler has a 2.1 WAR, an 082 WHIP, and a 167 ERA. His ERA is right there with Sanchez. His WHIP is better than Sanchez's. So I wouldn't be I would say I would almost rather put the long shot money on Wheeler because he's going to make the starts the rest of the way as long as he doesn't get, like, this is anybody, as long as they don't get hurt. And if he keeps pitching like this, you get the feel-good story for the voter. And I think that's something that's pretty strong. Now, Sanchez has one area where he's really big time, and that is strikeouts. He has 86 strikeouts in 72 innings. That number is outstanding, whereas Wheeler's at 36 strikeouts in 37 innings. So he's not quite at a strikeout per inning, whereas Sanchez is well over that. So Sanchez deserves to be the favorite right now, and he's going to pitch today, by the way, with this 37 and 2/3 inning streak, scoreless streak going, and it's a beautiful thing.
By the way, the minimum right now is 55 innings.
55 innings. Okay.
But the minimum right now is 55 innings. And you were asking about also the other side of it, which is the betting odds. I will throw in there, Sanchez is number 2 in strikeouts. He's at the best WAR of all pitchers in Major League Baseball.
It's unbelievable. And by the way, he had a couple starts that were a little
He did?
He had a couple of starts back there that were not Christopher Sanchez starts, and he has really bounced back from that. I mean, you go back to, he had those 2 consecutive starts, the one against the Cubs where he got beat up pretty good. He had the one start, he gave up 6 runs in that game, and he had the one start against San Francisco where he was just okay. Part of the problem in those 2 starts, he had 5 walks over the 2 starts, which is something that he just doesn't do.
Yeah.
Since that start, he has 6 walks. Since those 2 starts combined, he has 6 walks. He had 5 in those 2 starts. He has 6 totals. By the way, in the game against the Cubs the other time, he had 3 walks. So against the Cubs this year, he's got 5 walks in 11 innings.
Right.
Very uncritical. So you're talking about when the Phillies were kind of slumping a little bit in that 10-game losing streak, not even Christopher Sanchez could get, was absolved of that. It wasn't like the other night where Sanchez throws 8 shutout innings and he gets a no decision and you lose 1-0. He was part of the reason why you lost 10 straight games because of the starts that he gave you. The one game against the Cubs that they won, he did pitch and they won 13-7. The other game they lost 8-7 in 10 innings. He gave up 12 hits. He got knocked out of that game, and he didn't get through the 6. So he has, in the month of, what are we in, May, he has just been unbelievable. This month of May has put him in the Cy Young lead. Think about that. Now, would you say in a playoff series you'd rather Sanchez and Wheeler or Halladay and Lee?
Wow.
This one's an easy one for me.
I mean, my gut instinct would be still say Halladay Lee because I've seen them do it more often.
Yeah, to me, it's Sanchez and Wheeler.
Really?
And it's a hard one because Halladay threw a no-hitter in the playoff game. I was at that game. Lee, I saw cough up a 4-run lead, and I was at that game. And that sticks out to me as that was a game that the Phillies should have won with a 4-0. I think it was a 4-0 lead. And he coughed that lead up. And I'll never forget that. Man, that was the game they should have won. And he coughed that lead up. Sanchez and Wheeler, those 2 guys, they've had games where they've lost when those guys have pitched because their offenses come up. But very few times do they have I don't remember those guys coughing up 4-run leads where you're like, man, that's a game where you had the lead and lost.
So really for you, it's more of a demerit against Lee than anything else.
Yeah, and I love Lee. Lee was one of my favorite guys when they got him. In fact, when they traded him the first time, I was like apoplexed. That trade to me was the worst trade maybe in the history of the franchise. But I'll always remember I was at that game against St. Louis. They're up 4-0 in that game, and he gives up the lead.
So ideally, you would actually say Halladay and Sanchez. You have to combine them.
If I could pick 2, I don't know. Wheeler's postseason, I don't know, man. To have the conversation where you have those 4 guys, and don't forget Hamels was the MVP of the National League Championship Series and the World Series in 2008.
That's true.
He had one of the great playoff runs in if not the greatest playoff run in franchise history.
I think it was Bleacher Report. I sent it to you over the weekend. Someone compiled like all the starting rotations of like all the NL East teams of the last like 25 years. And I was looking at it and I was like, it really comes down to the Phillies and the Braves, because you look at some of the guys the Phillies have had over the last 25 years, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny because even the 08 team that won the World Series, their pitching was not what stands out about that team.
Not at all.
You had Hamels, who ended up winning the MVP
That was really it.
of the World Series and the National Championship Series, but that team was more offensive guys stood out first. When you think of this team, even though you have Schwarber, Harper, and then, you got to throw Turner in there because of the money that he makes.
Right.
Do you think of this team because of their pitching names first or their offensive? Like when you think of the Phillies, do you think of Schwarber and Harper or Sanchez and Wheeler?
I think it's half a dozen, one or the other.
Probably.
Whereas the 08 team, you definitely think of Rollins, Utley, Howard first and foremost.
There's not one scenario where you talk about the 08 Phillies that Utley, Rollins, and Howard's name, whatever configuration of how you say them, come out first before you say Hamels.
Yep.
And even Jason Worth maybe enters the picture before you get to a pitcher on that team. Maybe even Brad Lidge before you get to a starter.
Oh, definitely Brad Lidge before you get to a starter.
Now, Duran last night, did you see the numbers on this? Our buddy Jeff Kerr put this out. Duran, I don't know. Duran, to me, they made that trade to get Duran last year, and they gave up a lot to get Duran.
They did.
But in 40 games as a Philly, in those 40 games, 37 and a third, 53 strikeouts, 6 walks, 193 ERA. He has 27 saves and 30 opportunities. Last night was one of the most dominating performances in an inning that I've ever seen from Duran. As Kruk pointed out during the broadcast last night, I mean, he was toying with those guys. He didn't throw any fastballs, nothing.
Nope.
He threw everything but, and he was as dominant as you've ever seen him. This year in save opportunities, Duran, 11 for 11 with 16 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a 0.00 ERA when trying to get the save. Now, the other night, he coughed up the game. It's a 0-0 game. He's not going for the save. So he doesn't get the, tick on his ledger for that game the other night as a blown save because it's a 0-0 game. So,
right.
The one guy, though, I do want to talk about is Keller. I'm starting to get a little worried about Keller.
Starting?
Well, you thought maybe he's just off to a slow start. Maybe he's got no command at all.
He's got nothing.
Well, he's got great stuff, but he has no command of it.
Stuff.
Yeah, but he's got no command of it. That's what I'm saying. He's got great stuff. Everything he throws seems to be hard, but he's got no command of it. He's always behind in the count, it seems like, and he's nowhere near the plate. He's always, when he misses badly. The fact that Castellanos is just so horrible that he strikes him out on a pitch that's not even close. He has just no command at all. He's worrying me. Whereas you put this bullpen together and you thought you got Duran in the ninth and Keller in the eighth, and those two guys were going to be about as, automatic as you can get. Hasn't really worked out that way so far. And Keller, I'm starting to wonder, he's one of them guys, for those of you who don't really know Keller all that much, he was one of those guys that was a starting pitcher and he failed as a starter, and then he transitioned to the bullpen, and last year out of nowhere, he has a great year. And of course, it's a contract year. And the Phillies gave that guy 2 years, $22 million. You don't see that for a setup man all that much. But keep in mind, they had situations in the playoffs where Hoffman, who was the guy who pitched in some big games for them and blew some big games. And they figured, you know what? We can't have that happen. Let's go get this guy and pay him to be the eighth inning guy because our bullpen has let us down in the playoffs.
Keller was like the big move of the offseason.
For them, yes, it was. They spent $22 million over the next 2 years on him. And you're like, okay, their bullpen has failed them in these playoffs the last X amount of years. And he is worrying me a bunch. And you wonder, do they keep pitching him because of what they paid him? And they're going to pitch him, obviously. He's not unpitchably bad, but in that eighth inning high leverage situation, would you say that Kerkering has passed him?
Yes.
So you have more confidence in Kerkering than you do Keller.
Because, well, it's for two reasons. One, I still go back to the fact that the only reason we have negative feelings about Kerkering is how last season ended.
Well, you know me. I've always been kind of a Kerkering
well,
guy.
excluding you, but I meant the general
No, but I'm
Phillies
saying
fan.
I've always been a Kerkering guy because I thought his stuff was so outstanding, and that his problem was he didn't really know how to command his stuff, much like
Right.
Keller's problem. He's been better this year. Had struck out the side last night, had a walk kind of wrapped in there. I think he walked the leadoff man, actually. But I have a guy who's a big Kerkering guy. I have been disappointed with Kerkering. Now, what he did in the playoff last year, that's just an unbelievable mess up. But even take that out, I'm just saying I've been a little disappointed with Kerkering overall from what I hoped and thought he could be. I don't know that I have eighth inning setup man confidence in him yet.
Maybe not, but at this point, I can't trust Keller with anything.
Yeah, but I'm starting to completely lose confidence in Keller.
That's my point.
He has been really a disappointment to me because when they signed Keller, I was like, okay, I mean, that's a lot of money, and I'm okay.
But it was a move that made sense.
Yeah, they needed it. They needed an eighth inning guy who's a lockdown. This game's over. When you get to the eighth inning, this game's over. Similar to, you remember the year when the Phillies played the Diamondbacks in the NLCS?
Yeah.
And you ran into the back end of their bullpen. And when they got to that back end for that 1 year, when you got to the back end of that bullpen, they just shut you down. And that's what I saw when they signed Keller. I was like, you know what? Okay. All right. You get a guy that when this game gets to the seventh, eighth inning, this game's over. I'm okay with that. And it just hasn't worked out so far. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the White Horse RV text board. Mike McGarry, we're going to get his thoughts on that. His Knicks are going to the NBA Finals. Who do they match up better with? Also, we will dive into the Eagles at OTAs. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni later on in the show at 3:30 today. We will have the Nick Sirianni presser for you guys out there. So Sirianni speaks for the first time in a while. We haven't heard from Nick in about a month. So we'll check in on that as well. Phillies Fastball with Oscar and Jeff at 3 o'clock. And our buddy Kevin Cooney will join us tonight from the Cooney Report, his new Substack. He's got a fun article up there right now on the state of Philadelphia sports owners, executives, and coaches. How does he rank them all? And want to get his thoughts on his latest Substack on Dave Dombrowski. How much of this Phillies team does he put on the shoulders of Dave Dombrowski? That's still to come this hour of the show. It is brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Listen, if you get into a car accident, slip and fall at work, you get injured, you don't want a Dave Dombrowski in your corner, someone who can tell you everything he did 10, 15, 20 years ago that hasn't won anything recently. You want a lawyer that knows how to win, the tough lawyers that handle the tough cases, and that's where you get the law offices of Craig A. Altman, 856-327-8899. Yes, they are located on Delsea Drive in Vineland, backed by a Philly law firm that knows how to win. The insurance companies, they have a game plan. It's called delay, deny, pay as little as possible. So who's on your side? You need Craig A. Altman, 856-327-8899, or visit them online at craigaltmanlaw.com.
All right, coming up, Phil's Padres, 4:10 first pitch today. We got football at 4. We'll dive into Eagles OTAs. But when we come back, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City and PressOfAC.com joins the conversation. Coming up next. All right, 2:31. Mike McGarry's here for the Press of Atlantic City, pressafac.com. Lousy weather out there, but the Phils are out in San Diego. I'm sure beautiful weather as always out there. He's set to join us now on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A lot going on. Phils win last night. He had a well-pitched game from Aaron Nola. I don't know that we can keep counting on that. I don't know that we can keep counting on JT Realmuto homers. I don't know that we can keep counting on Trey Turner homers. Maybe Harper homers. But anything you saw last night, Mike, that makes you feel like they're turning the corner offensively, or is that just, hey, one night, hold your horses?
Yeah, I don't know if it's, we can say they're turning the corner, but it's better than JT Realmuto and Trey Turner continuing to struggle. And it's better than Aaron Nola continuing to struggle. And I think if you look big picture, we talked about this 12-game stretch, right? Or, 3 games against the Guardians, 6 on this road trip, and then 3 with the Padres coming into town. And so far, they're 3-2 on this stretch. So that has to be considered a positive moving forward for them.
You wrote about it over at pressafatlanticcity.com. Their inability to hit left-handed pitching. Will that ultimately be their demise this year? And I guess that's a fair question, Mike, because they don't have any answers to this question. They can't. It seems like internally, at least, they can't fix it. And I don't even know if externally there's an answer.
Yeah, I mean, people have written some stuff. I thought Matt Gelb wrote some stuff on The Athletic today that highlighted, the Phillies aren't the only ones struggling to find right-handed hitters who can hit. You think they'd be 10 guys standing on every street corner who are right-handed and can hit. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore in baseball. I don't know what's happened with that. But it used to be you could never find left-handed hitters, and right-handed hitters were a dime a dozen. Now you can't find right-handed hitters. So, and Don Mattingly, the manager, pointed out the other day, people ask him about the lineup, and it is a fair point. I mean, what difference does it make if, Alec Boehm hits 4th, he hits 7th, Garcia hits 4th, he hits 7th, Turner hits 1st, he hits 2nd. These guys got to do it. These right-handed bats have to produce. And the pitching, Mike, is maybe good enough to get them into the playoffs. The pitching is good enough to maybe scare a team in the playoffs, but you're not going to win a World Series or I think go deep in the playoffs when 4 right-handed bats in your lineup are struggling to hit 200 on the season. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, what do you make of that? I mean, we all know batting average is not looked at the same way that it used to be, but I think John Clark put out, they have 2 regulars that hit over 235. I mean, what do you make of a team that's your offense?
Yeah, it is no offense. It's not going to work. It's not going to sustain consistently. I know batting averages are not what people look at, but people do look at on base percentage. The Phillies guys aren't getting on base. They do look at OPS. Their on base plus their slugging is also below league par. So, again, Mike, and I wasn't one of these guys in the off season, but now looking back on it, should they have probably gotten, the Suarez guy that went to Seattle and then signed with Cincinnati? Should they probably have, made an attempt to get him? Yeah. Should they probably have, maybe done a little bit more to keep Harrison Bader? Yeah. Because although those guys aren't lighting it up, they're better than the options the Phillies currently have now. So I don't know what you do except continue to write these guys in the lineup, because every game I've ever been to, somebody's played third base, somebody's caught, somebody's played right field, and just hope they hit. Last night they hit and you won. Today they could go back to normal and you lose. That's the way it goes.
You brought up Bader. They obviously did not bring him back because he wanted more money or more multiple years, and he's having a terrible season out there. But one can argue that maybe here he felt comfortable, he liked it. For whatever reason, he's not here. That being said, they handed that job to Crawford. He got off to a great start and seemed like, wow, this is everything they lack. A guy that can put the ball in the play. He's got speed. He's on base. A quick update of his batting average and on base. He is at 229 with a 297 on base. Mike McGarry, do you have worries about Justin Crawford, or is he just hitting that little slump and this guy can hit and he'll be fine?
Yeah, I think you got to keep him in there, but it is concerning that you are seeing some of the issues the analytic people raised about him. Too many ground balls, not enough balls in the air, basically. That was the knock on him, and you are seeing some of that come to fruition. And to me, when he has gotten on base, Mike, he has not done enough with his speed to sort of kind of wreak havoc on the base paths there. I thought he'd be a much more, I think he'd be a much more aggressive base runner, steal more bases and do that. You haven't seen him do that. You refer to Bader, he was hurt early in the season. He came back. He hit 2 grand slams. He hasn't been hitting great. But, could you have got an option where maybe you shift Marsh to right, put Crawford in left, Bader in center? Is that what they have? Is that alignment better than what they have now? I don't know. Maybe you're just trying to, rob Peter to pay Paul at this point. I do think, Mike, when I do look at some teams play, and we just saw the Cleveland Guardians come into town and they leave the AL Central, they seem to be able to have guys in their lineup that put the ball in play more, make more contact. And maybe what you're seeing on the Phillies now is just guys who are star players who are used to hitting one way, in guys like JT Realmuto and Trey Turner and Alec Bohm, guy who was projected as a star. They're used to, hitting one way, doing damage with each swing, hitting home runs, doubles, and maybe they're just not geared towards, slapping the ball the other way or playing small ball or whatever the reason is. But, their current offensive path they're on, and let me say this, they're not alone on this path. When you look at baseball, it's frustrating to watch. But again, if they don't hit more consistently, I don't see how you win with this lineup where you're almost forcing the starting pitcher to go out and throw, 6-7 shutout innings every night. That's not realistic.
Yesterday I had a lot of frustration about you're hitting JT Realmuto in the 5-hole the other day, and I'm thinking, all right, that's it. How does somebody come to terms with, I'm going to write this guy's name in the 5th slot in this order? And I wonder, what's the breaking point for Dave Dombrowski where he says, you know what? I've got to do something. I can't write JT Realmuto's name there. I can't put Garcia's name there. Today they have Stott. I have to help this team out. Is there a breaking point for that?
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate question, right? Because you look at this team, right, and you look at where they are, and you kind of say, okay, they made the playoffs 4 straight years in a row, and the last 3 trips to the playoffs have kind of ended in, disappointment. 2022 was unexpected. So even though they lost the World Series, I don't think anybody would put that year as a disappointment. And you kind of ask yourself, you're right. You say, how can you write JT Realmuto in the 5 spot in the lineup? Well, who else are you going to write in there? Do you feel any better writing Garcia's name in there? Do you feel any better writing Bohm's name in there? No. Do you feel any better? There is nobody else to write in, right? So you got to write in what you write in. Now the question,
right? But that's kind of my point. That's kind of my point. Is if those are my options, do I not have to find someone else to add into the bank of options?
Exactly. So the question now, confronting Dombrowski and this group is, do you do what you've done in the past, and that's try to get a right-handed bat in here, i.e. Austin Hayes, Harrison Bader, that might make an incremental difference and might help you get a little bit better? Or do you look at that lineup and say this needs a bigger fix than that? And do you go all out to sort of get that big right-handed at-bat to try to fix the lineup? And, look, I'll throw it out there. Do you call up the Angels and say, what do we have to do to get Mike Trout in here, who has not continued the start he has, but his presence in this lineup is almost exactly what you need. So to me, if I'm Dave Dombrowski, do I try to fix it around the edges with an Austin Hayes and a Harrison Bader, or do I try to make the big move, maybe sacrifice future success because I'm giving up prospects and I'm committing payroll to try and solve the problem this year? That's the answer or that's the question to me facing Dave Dombrowski. The current path is not feasible going forward.
The
right?
interesting,
So what do you do? Do
Yeah.
you fix it small, or do you try to fix it big and sacrifice the future?
Well, the Angels are horrible. They have won 4 in a row, but even winning 4 in a row, they're like 13 games under 500. You wonder, if you picked up the phone, if they're a breaking point for them. You mentioned Harrison Bader. Well, he signed a 2-year, $20 million deal. Well, he's halfway through the first year of that deal. He's only hitting 168. Do the Phillies call there and say, look, we'll help you get out of that deal and just take a shot to bring him back? You only have to pay him for 1.5 years instead of 2 years. Do you take that shot? Or is his 168, 198 on base percentage so ugly that you're like, see, we made the smart decision? I don't know how you do it, but if I'm Dave Dombrowski, I feel like I've got to try to get creative, because if I was John Middleton, I'd be saying, dude, you need to do something or else.
Yeah. I mean, again, Mike, they can sit there and have the meetings, right? And the same way we talk, right? And the Dombrowski and the Phillies can sit there and say, hey, do we kind of try to ride this season out? Do we try to minor league fix this with an Austin Hayes type player or a Harrison Bader type player, and then hope our pitching, carries us to the postseason, and then hope we get hot in the postseason? Do we go down that range? And if we do that, we know in the offseason, Alec Boehm's going to be a free agent. We have more flexibility in the offseason. We can address third base. We can address the outfield position. We'll have a whole year of Justin Crawford under our belt, so we'll have a better idea of what he is as a player. Do you take that path, or do you say this is unacceptable, this core, this is their last ride, and we're going to make one big push to get, a superstar or a big-time right-handed bat in here, realizing that, A, that might not solve the problem, and B, might exacerbate the problem going forward because you're increasing the payroll and giving up prospects to get that at-bat. I think that's the choice that Dave Dombrowski, Preston Mattingly, John Middleton, and the rest of the Philadelphia Phillies management kind of faces when discussing, what's going on with this rest of this season.
All right, Mike McGarry, you have covered a lot of Phillies teams and watched baseball as an observer essentially your entire professional career. Christopher Sanchez in the midst of a 37 2/3 inning scoreless streak. He's backed up with Zach Wheeler, who's got a whip of 0.83 and an ERA under 2. Where does this duo rank for you when you watch these two guys?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Again, you talk about the 1-2 and even 3 punch if you put Luzardo in there, and you kind of wonder where would this team be without the starting pitching. And Christopher Sanchez, to me, is one of the best stories in all of baseball. And to me, Mike, when you watch him start, you can't miss one of his starts, because I'm going to tell you something. At one point, he's going to throw a no-hitter, and you want to be in front of the TV or at the ballpark when he does it, because his pitches right now, his changeup might be the best pitch in all of baseball, and he's added a slider to that, and he can throw at velocity, and he's got a toughness about him, a mental toughness, a presence on the mound. So, you talk about great Philadelphia Phillies pitches, right? You go back to Robin Robertson, you go back to Steve Carlton, you go back to the Roy Halladay, Cole Hamels, Cliff Lee, that type of rotation. Christopher Sanchez is on one of those runs. And again, I just have a feeling every time he goes to the ballpark, I'm surprised when he gives up a hit, basically. I'm surprised that he doesn't throw a no-hitter. He's going to get one at some point this season, I believe, and it might be coming soon with the way he's pitching now. Like you said, 37 2/3 scoreless innings, and he only needs 4 or 5 innings to top the record set by Grover Cleveland Alexander. And anytime you're a Phillies pitcher and you're mentioned in the same breath with Grover Cleveland Alexander, not many of the listeners probably out there saw him play in person, but obviously one of the greats of all time. So to me, yeah, Christopher Sanchez, maybe not there yet, but he's carving out his spot in Phillies history, with each outing that he makes this season.
No doubt about it. Fun to watch. He'll be pitching coming up later on this afternoon. Christopher Sanchez for the Phils. They go for the sweep of the Padres. Sweep for the Knicks. You watched last night, I'm sure, Spurs and Thunder. The Thunder take the 3-2 lead. Which team, if you're a Knicks fan, are you hoping advances?
You know, uh, honestly, Mike, it's kind of tough to, it's both teams are so dynamic. I think if I had my choice, I'd rather play the Spurs because maybe I think the Spurs aren't ready yet to become champions. But in saying that, they would have just beaten the defending champion. So how could they not be ready to play, to be the defending champion? Here's what I will say about this series. There's a narrative out there, a sort of, a tone opinion among experts that the championship series is being played in the West, right? That the winner of the San Antonio Oklahoma series will be the NBA champion. That's the real championship series. And as afraid as I am to say this, and as afraid of being like an all-time mush or put too much pressure, I've got to trust my eyes and what I'm seeing, Mike. There's no way that either the Spurs or Oklahoma is just walking through the Knicks. The Knicks can play with any team in the NBA, especially the way they're playing right now. Coaches love to use the phrase connected when they talk about teams. I don't think I've seen an NBA team more connected than the Knicks. The ability of anybody in that starting five, if I told you any one of those guys in that starting five got 20 points in an NBA Finals game, you would not be surprised. The play of people off the bench. This is a team, with Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, Jordan Clarkson, Alvarado. They go 10 deep. My eyes tell me that the Knicks are just as good as Oklahoma and San Antonio, and the series is going to be great, and the Knicks can absolutely win it. My head of watching the Knicks for 50 years kind of screw things up tells me not to say it, but Mike, you only live once. So let's say it. The Knicks are good enough to win an NBA championship, and, take advantage of this because we just finished talking about the Phillies, right? How many of us assumed back in 2022 or even 2023 when they were up 3-2 against Arizona that it was only a matter of time before the Phillies won a World Series? You got to answer the door when opportunity knocks, and for the Knicks, that opportunity is right now, and they have the talent to walk through it.
Listen, I definitely agree with you that they've made this thing way more interesting than anybody thought when it started. Everybody thought it was the West winner. But this Knicks team, your eyesight is telling you that this team is on a mission right now. The one thing is they got all these days off again for them. At some point, you wonder if that is something that catches up to them or it actually helps them out, that they are just way more well-rested. I mean, last night, Wembanyama looked a little gassed at times in that game. By the way, Jared McCain, second in minutes last night for Oklahoma City. Who had Jared McCain giving you 33 minutes and 20 points? He did not play well early as the starter, but came on late for Oklahoma City, hit some big shots, and they win 127-114, and they are one win away to face the Knicks in the NBA Finals. Mike McGarry's back on Friday. We should have potentially that matchup all set by then. Mike, we appreciate you, man.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Mike. Take care.
There's Mike McGarry, of course, here from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Yeah, Jared McCain started last night. It's very frustrating to see him out there. He did not play well early. It was kind of like everybody was like, oh, the McCain people, you don't have much to say now. Look, it's a long game. I didn't think him starting that game last night. He got off to a slow start, but, man, he played well in the second half of that game for Oklahoma City. Ended up with second on the team in minutes last night behind SGA. 20 points, hit 3 threes. I think all 3 of those threes were in the second half of that game. So he had a big night in the second half for OKC. All right, more Sports Bash coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, we'll talk to Kevin Cooney from the Cooney Report. But coming up at 3 o'clock today, it's today's Phillies Fastball. All right, coming up next hour on the Sports Bash, it's the Phillies fastball. Oscar Budijan and Jeff Kerr join me to break down the Phils as they continue out west against the Padres. Going for the sweep. This would be a big sweep there against a good team. Got to give the Phils some credit for bouncing back. Not a lot of offense, although last night they did get the offense cranking up with a couple of homers. And now today, Christopher Sanchez up against Walker Buehler. We'll preview the matchup, plus we'll take a look at some of the other key Phillies questions with the guys coming up next. This hour of the show brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsors of our sports coverage here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, coming up later on in the show, football at 4, and Nick Sirianni speaks for the first time at OTAs. The Eagles are on the field today, and we have it coming up for you next hour. Sirianni at 3:30. All right, 3 o'clock hour, Sports Bass Live. Our daily look at the Phillies and our Phillies Fastball segment is brought to you by Ventnor Social, the place to catch every Phillies game. 20 big screen TVs. Enjoy the food and drink, and visit them on Facebook to see all the events that they got going on. We'll be there on Thursday, June 4th. Phillies Fastball right now with Oscar Budijan and Jeff Kerr. The guys join me for a look at the Phillies as they go for the sweep today over the Padres. What are some of the things that are going well for this team that maybe we can start buying into? We'll get into that and more with today's Phillies Fastball segment here on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. And boys, Phils looked good last night. It was like old times, a bunch of home runs, Aaron Nola pitching well. Boy, it was like vintage Phillies for a night there. Guys, what's happening?
How you doing, guys? Pleasure to be here. Finally, we were able to get 3 home runs. This team has a hard time getting base hits, but they surely get home runs, and that's how we win the game. Great pitching by Aaron Nola. Finally, we saw a great pitching from him, and in addition to that, 3 home runs and you win games. That's how this team wins games. So.
Well, let's start there. Deep dive Aaron Nola last night. This was probably the best we've seen him. 6 innings, 80 pitches. He gave up the home run, very Aaron Nola-esque. He gives up a 2-run homer, but he settled in right after that. And I don't know what to make of that moving forward, but what's your deep dive, Oscar? We'll start with you on what we saw from Nola last night that stood out.
One of the things that we know is that they were going to sit down in the lab and try to reinvent Nola, and that's what we saw yesterday. We saw a huge change in the way he pitched. He increased from 33% his knuckle curve to 49%. So half of his pitches basically were the knuckle curve, which is his most effective pitch. They're hitting 198 in the entire year against that. And then he lowered significantly his fastball. His fastball went down to 18% versus being in the season at 27%. So basically he threw less fastball, which they've been hitting him very hard with. And then he increased the usage of his knuckle curve. And one thing that I did notice is that his command was much better than he's been in the last few outings. So look, this is Aaron Nola has to reinvent himself, and that's what we saw yesterday. And he was very, very effective. And I'll take 2 runs in 6 innings any day of the week out of Aaron Nola.
Yeah, and Jeff, let's look at the offense, man. We saw a home run from Harper. That was a missile. We saw a titanic blast from JT Realmuto, and we have Trey Turner in the 2-hole yesterday, and he goes yard. Did Turner look more comfortable? What did you make of the offense last night?
I'm kind of liking Trey Turner in the 2-hole today as well. Look, this is the only place you can really put him. And we've talked about this for several weeks now with Trey Turner's struggles. And really, this is the only change you can make if you're going to move Turner out of leadoff spot. You just got to flip him and Schwarber. You can't – everybody's talking about this whole – maybe they should move Brandon Marsh up the leadoff. No, that's not going to work. Oscar, you pointed this out last week. You don't want 3 lefties starting in this lineup, Marsh, Schwarber, Harper. You can't do it. So this is the logical move if you're going to try to win games. And this is what I kind of wanted to point out with Don Mattingly. And, Oscar, we could touch on this a little bit later in the show too, but it seems like he's not worried about tomorrow, right? He's worried about, let's try to win this game today. And Johan Duran pitching 4 times in 5 days, for example. And you're using your guys to your advantage, right? You're using your horses to win you baseball games, especially on the road. And if getting Trey Turner second and having him get 2 hits is the right move, and Kyle Schwarber batting leadoff is going to help this team, then I guess they got to do it.
But by the way, the Turner home run was one of the weirdest home run swings you will ever see, but it worked.
Yeah, it didn't look right, did it? It didn't, Oscar.
It sure didn't. So sometimes you close your eyes and you swing and you get it. So it's
Well, you brought it up, Jeff. They did make that flip at the top of the lineup with Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber, so they're trying that. Marsh is not in the lineup today with that finger injury, so I think it's interesting, guys, though, that they're going with Edmundo Sosa. By the way, Oscar, you probably were pleasantly surprised last night that they told everybody the background behind the name Mundito that you would hear on this Phillies Fastball segment and why Edmundo is called that you've brought up on our show. But they're using him in left field, not Otto Kemp here. I mean, Kemp, they bring him back up, and he essentially seems like he's got less than a role that he had when he was here the first time.
Look, Mundito Sosa is a very, very special player. What he does inside the field and outside of the field, and what he does in the clubhouse is very, very important. He's a connector and a guy that brings kind of a lighthearted but positive, and he has that mentality that when you go out there, you go out to win and find a way to do it, and it's contagious. And look, he can do it. I mean, he's not a natural outfielder. He's not but if you ask him to do whatever he asks him to do to help win the team, he's going to go out and do it. And look, I'm more surprised in having. I thought they were going to put Kemp today there instead of March, instead of Mundito. I'm very surprised what they're doing with Kemp. Look, if he's going to be a bench warmer, I mean, you might as well put him in AAA and then bring Carlson that can give you much better defense than Otto Kemp can. But look, those are decisions that we're going to have to make. I like the fact that Mundito is in the lineup. And look, replacing March, right now, March is one of your key players. I mean, replacing him is not going to be an easy task, and we'll see what happens.
This is what upsets me about whole Mundito playing left field. I don't have a problem with him playing left field, but it's like you pointed out, Oscar. Why is Otto Kemp here? Like, you are mismanaging Otto Kemp. You are mismanaging Felix Reyes. You might as well just have those two in AAA, get them every day at bats. I hate the term 4A player. I just do. Like, we haven't seen enough of Otto Kemp or Felix Reyes to determine that. And look, I look at Otto Kemp and Amundo Sosa as the same thing. My issue with them is Amundo Sosa will not be on this team next year. That's how I'm looking at it right now. He's a free agent. If he's back, that's awesome. I would love him to be on this team. But Otto Kemp is a prospect. Felix Reyes is a prospect. These guys have earned their way up here, at least the opportunity. And this organization has failed them right now as players. And I don't want to see them do this with Justin Crawford, who's struggling right now. I don't want to see them do this with Dante Nori when the time comes, when the Arun Escobar. This is a bad precedent they are setting right now for these young players.
Yeah, and they need help right now. I talked about this the other day. You know, the setting off point Oscar and I talked about on yesterday's Phillies Fastball was you're batting JT Realmuto in the 5-hole. That's unacceptable. You can't have
you can't do it. You can't do it. Yeah.
But you can't say, well, Jeff, give me a better option. And you tell me, well, Adolis Garcia, or they don't
can't
have
do
another
him.
option.
You might as well just put Mike Gill as the 5-hole hitter.
I can hit it at one time. So are there any creative options? Like we had McGarry on last hour, and we were saying, hey, listen, here's one for you guys, okay? Harrison Bader, who you let walk because you didn't want to pay him. Well, he's having a horrible year with the Giants, but he's already halfway through the first year of that deal. Do you just say, hey, we'd like to bring him back? You've already paid him for half the year. We'll bring him back here, because this is tied into two questions. One, you got to find an upgrade offensively over Adolis Garcia. Do we agree on that? And two, at what point do you have to start worrying about Justin Crawford and his production in center field?
I think what you need is somebody to platoon. Sorry, Jeff. I think you need somebody right now in the short term. You probably need somebody to platoon with Adolis Garcia in right field. Look, his defense is so elite that is a game changer. I mean, it is a game changer. And I do believe that Garcia is going to be better. He's very, very streaky. And we said that since the very beginning. He's like Nick Castellanos. I mean, he could go a week and he could be the player of the week in the National League. But then he's going to play 4 weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks where he's not going to do absolutely anything. And he's not seeing the ball. So I think with situations like this, you need more of a platoon situation in right field, and then bringing somebody else that could platoon with him. Look, the Bader piece worked last year because he was kind of a plug-in. It was for a short period of time, and it was like it was perfect. It was a perfect marriage. If you look at Bader the entire year, I don't think he can deliver what he did last year, and that's where the challenges are in this team. And I'll just mention this right quick with regards to the young guys. This is the very difficult situation you're in. This is a team that have a very, very small window and is now or never, and developing players coming out of the bench is extremely, extremely hard to do. That's why you give Crawford. That's why Crawford didn't come up last year. You were giving him the opportunity now to play every single day, and that's the way you need to manage it. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality.
And I agree with you, Oscar. Like, look, Justin Crawford, you got to take your lumps right now. Look, I'm sure it's tough for him right now. Last 7 days, hasn't had a hit. last 14 days, hitting 103, 213 in the last month. Like, do we expect this of Justin Crawford? Yes and no.
Yes.
We expect peaks and valleys, but you can't just say, oh, this guy's replaceable. No, he's only played, 50 games he has played. 50 games in the major leagues. Like, we have to be patient with. This is the one guy you have to be patient with. I still say you got to be patient with Otto Kemp and Felix Reyes too, but they made their bed with that.
But there's no space. There's no space to play them. That's the challenge, and they're going to play once a week. Bring Carlson up and bring those guys down and let them play every day and continue playing.
You know what, Oscar? This is a lot easier to swallow Otto Kemp struggling and Felix Reyes struggling, Justin Crawford struggling. When, I don't know, JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, or Adolis Garcia can actually get some base hits and play like the major league players they're getting paid to be.
Well,
it will be a lot simpler. It will be a
couple
lot
options, guys. Just perusing through people coming up with things. Do you stick with Adolis Garcia and try to find a left-handed bat? Is it Max Kepler suspended for drugs or something? Like,
yeah. He's gone.
Yoel Rojas will be coming back in 25 games. Maybe he's an answer.
Rojas is also a right-handed bat. But that being said, Joe Adell with the Angels, his name keeps getting brought up. Tyler Freeman with the Rockies. Dylan Cruz in Washington. Do you go and get a guy like a mediocre player and
what
just
about like a Brenton Doyle?
What
What if they would like try to hit up Brenton Doyle again like they did last year? I knew they were somewhat interested in him.
He's a veteran, very good center fielder.
Right. A guy to play center, and now you're saying just use. I mean, are we at the point where you just want to see Crawford seemingly is they're in a tough spot because they're platooning Crawford. Marsh is now playing pretty much every day, but he's not a great center fielder. And I think the more that he gets exposed to left-handed pitching, the more that's going to show his weaknesses.
That's why I told you. Go ahead. No, that's why I told you that, in my opinion, this team should have come out of a spring training with 5 infielders, which you have, which Mundito being the guy that moves around. And then you would have 4 outfielders, including a veteran right-handed hitter. That way you rotate the 4 guys. Whomever is hot plays and whoever is not hot sits. I mean, you have a tough left-handed, then you can play with the 2 outfielders, and then you keep March and you can rotate. Right now you cannot do that because you have Otto Kemp that is not an established major league player, and you don't want to play him, and you're in this catch-22, and then you got to move your utility infielder. You got to put him in left field, and it's not a very well-designed team right now.
No, and Jeff, I mean, they got an outfield mess. So, I mean, you bring up they got to try to find either a veteran right-handed platoon player, or now, Oscar and Jeff, a veteran left-handed platoon player to get
maybe
Garcia
both
out of the lineup.
You know what's so frustrating about this? And Oscar, you saw this yesterday. I put up their numbers on the bench. No one is having a good year on that bench. No one. Like Rafael Marchand, as good as he is as a defensive catcher throwing guys out, he's an out. He's an out the plate. Yeah. Garrett Stubbs is here. Like, they have 3 catchers. I don't understand why. Otto Kemp doesn't play. Dylan Moore didn't play when he was here. He was part of that bench. Edmundo Sosa's struggling because he's not getting the at-bats. It's a discombobulated mess right now. You need multiple pieces on this team at the deadline.
Actually, Oscar, I would ask you, is Edmundo Sosa struggling because he's starting to get more at-bats?
No. I think that's who he is. I mean, that's who he is as a player. He's always been like that. And he's going to have times where he's going to be hot. Other times he's going to be – look, he got a 2-run homer the other day that was key in a win. Look, Rob just came bump. Rob Neffnider just hit a home run. I mean, that's one of the guys you could have brought here to be as part of that 4 outfield rotation. You know what I would do right now? Dylan Carlson, that is in the minor leagues, I would bring that guy up. That guy's a tremendous outfielder. That guy can play every piece of the outfield. He hits both ways. And look, you're going to do a better job. You're going to do a better service for Otto Kemp, bringing him down to AAA and getting every day at bats while you have an experienced major leaguer up here. Is he going to hit his way into this team? No, but the reality is he's going to be probably more useful when a Brandon March gets hurt like this, and you can plug him in against right-handed pitcher.
But you need to improve your bench too, and that's the thing. If you're not going to use Otto Kemp on your bench, why is he here? Like, I know he can play first. I know he can play third and left field. But Dylan Carlson, like you said, Oscar, he can play all levels of the outfield. Same thing with Stuart Baroa. He can play all levels of the outfield. Maybe Gabriel Rincones comes up at some point this year. Now that his rehab assignment is done,
he could platoon with Garcia in right field at some point.
That might be the move. That might be it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Dante Nori, by the way, he's starting to struggle offensively as well. He's a guy who's been banged up a little bit. They just don't have a lot of options there.
He left in the 4th inning on Sunday. I was told he was fine because he played yesterday and he played today. But Brian Rincon, I don't know if you guys heard, he's on the 7-day IL. But I heard, I was told Brian Rincon is going to be fine. So this isn't a long-term thing.
I think it's a hamstring, isn't it? I think it might be a hamstring.
Garcia, hoping that they could find someone possibly to platoon there, maybe someone to platoon with Crawford in center field. And by the way, it's not a gimme that Brandon Marsh is going to excel against left-handed pitching, so that one remains to be seen. Any concerns that we have there? What about the bullpen? Today, it looks like Duran, Kerkering, and Keller all might not be available, but I got to tell you guys, I'm starting to lose my trust confidence level in Brad Keller big time.
Yeah, he's dropping.
Ooh, man.
Look, Kerkering is going up. 3 strikeouts yesterday. He was magnificent yesterday.
Kerkering's fastball was up 1.4 mile per hour from his season average. It was 98.6 yesterday, and it was 97.2 for Yohan Duran was up too. It's all of a sudden like these guys are really getting into high gear.
Well, I'll tell you what. I agree on Kerkering, but I don't know that I'm ready to see Kerkering in a higher leverage situation yet.
Yeah, like you almost kind of like him where he is.
Yes.
And it's better to keep him where he is and have Brad Keller figure it out. And what Brad Keller kind of has to figure it out because it's like the Trey Turner thing. You paid him.
And you need, to me, he's playing the role that Banks played last year, where you bringing in high leverage situations where you need to either get an inning out, where you have the 3, 4, 5 hole of the other team, or you have a runner on base and there's a couple outs, and you need to bring somebody that you can absolutely trust. He's probably is the most trusted pitcher outside of Duran in this bullpen, and even Duran has thrown a game out there. So, look. The reality with Brad Keller, I was looking at his number. I went to look at carefully his number. The issue with Brad Keller this year is his fastball. They're hitting 450 out of his fastball, so he's changing his approach. And if you saw yesterday, Laureano, which I prefer, I would love to have Laureano on this team, by the way, that hit the home run yesterday. What you saw is location. I mean, he's putting a meatball in the middle of the plate, and the guy
no command. He has no command.
He left the ball in the middle of the plate.
Can we talk about this, like how the Padres are like the worst good team in baseball I've ever seen? Like, you look at their numbers, it's laughable.
It worked. It works. It works.
There's another.
It doesn't work. That's the problem with baseball.
It has worked so far, dude. It has worked. They got to.
Yeah, you know why? Because they don't play anybody either. They don't play anybody either.
There's another team that has to write Nick Castellanos' name in the 5 hole, and you're thinking, how when he plays, do you say, Nick, like, how does your hand write that out and say,
how does Fernando Tatis not have a home run? Like, what are they teaching these guys?
Machado's hitting
he was on substance before, and he's out of substance now, so that might be part of the reason.
Laureano is a good player, like you said, Oscar, and like he's not hitting. Miguel Andujar is like one of the few players hitting on that team.
Look, Castellanos, I love the strikeout. I love the strikeout yesterday of Castellanos going and chasing that ball completely.
Oh, you knew that was coming.
Horrible. When Machado came up and they put his batting average up on the screen in 170-something, I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, like, how do you keep – like, and it's sad, like, you have to keep trotting these guys out there. You don't really have a choice. Like, you can't sit Manny Machado and Trey Turner and that level of player. You just have to keep rolling them out there. And that's what I was talking about this yesterday. Like the whole, like sports in general, we just need a hard reset. These guys are all getting paid so much ridiculous money, and they can't. They're just not worth it.
I was so upset listening to Nick Castellanos the other day about just kind of backhanded complimenting Rob Thompson. And I'm like, you know what, Nick? That guy stuck his neck out for you for years when you shouldn't have been playing because of your and the one time he benches you, you go
Yeah.
off the wagon, literally.
Yeah.
There are times where you just need to go like that, dude. I mean, that's when Nick Sirianni's speaking, you just don't listen, dude.
But the problem
It's a
is
waste of
people
time.
do listen to him. Problem is people do, and they don't realize he's a bad baseball player.
All right, boys. Phillies fastball. Of course, the Phillies start in about an hour. Christopher Sanchez, we'll close with him. 37
History.
2/3 innings pitched, scoreless streak going. It's almost under the radar because of the offensive struggles of this team that he got the no decision in the last game and they ended up losing that game. But this guy is the leader in the Cy Young betting odds right now.
I'm so proud of him. I mean, remembering 4 or 5 years ago where this guy was, he would come up as the guy in the second to come in and pitch on the second game of a doubleheader, and know how much he's grown as a player. And Cawthon has done a tremendous job with him and the entire Phillies organization, basically building him into the premier left-hander together with Scobel in all of baseball. I'm so proud of him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And he's a wonderful guy, all committed. You see how hard he's the hardest. I can tell you this right now. He's the hardest working guy during the offseason in the entire Phillies team.
I agree with that.
He is amazing, and he deserves everything that he's getting.
It was so funny on Friday night. Like, I love to ask these types of questions to players sometimes when they're on hot streaks. And I asked him, is there anything you could do, like, to be better than this? Right? Because you're hot. And he kind of,
He'll tell you yes.
Yeah. You know what he said? He said, you just got to keep to the preparation. And it was funny when Diego was doing his thing on his phone, when he was talking to me, his answer, he winked. And I'm like, he knows that. Like, he knows he can be better. And it's crazy to think that he as long as he stays to his plan, and he said his plan, it's not on game day. It's the 4 days between his starts. He's told me that before, and it's working for him. He keeps a routine. He's very committed to it. I mean, look, I hope he does break this, because Grover Cleveland Alexander's record is pretty much unbreakable. Oh, Oral Hershiser's scoreless streak is pretty much unbreakable. If you can just get one of them in the live ball era, that's insane to me. He can do this.
Well, if he gets 4 innings scoreless today, he will set the Phillies
against this team. He
record.
might be able to do it the way they
I
did.
agree. Phillies fastball. Christopher Sanchez, 4 consecutive scoreless innings, 4 consecutive scoreless games of 7 innings or more. It's tied for the longest streak by any pitcher over the last 15 years. He is on a heater right now. 7 scoreless innings and 5 strikeouts today. He would join Don Drysdale as the only pitcher to do that since 1893. 1.62 ERA. That's third best in the majors. Christopher Sanchez gets the ball. Boys, we'll do Phillies fastball tomorrow.
Let's not forget the support from the Philly Sports Show. They do a tremendous job. Go visit them. They're open Thursday to Friday in 22nd and South Street, or go to on Sal's Follies at on South and .com, and you can go and check all the great stuff they have. Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely, boys. We'll do it again tomorrow. Phillies trying to wrap up the series against the Padres, and then they will take on the Dodgers. We'll start previewing that series tomorrow right here with Phillies Fastball. Oscar, Jeff, see you guys.
Go, Christopher.
All right, there you go. Today's Phillies Fastball, as always, it's brought to you by our friends over at Ventnor Social. We got Ventnor Social coming up on June the 4th. We will be live at Ventnor Social. You can stop out and see us and come watch the Phillies Day Baseball. They're playing the Padres next week on June the 4th. So the Padres play up in less than an hour. Coming up on the other side, you'll hear what Nick Sirianni said. Plus, Jalen Hurts was asked today what the Eagles' offense will look like without A.J. Brown. You'll hear his answer to that coming up on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. 3:31. Hey, rainy day today, but Friday, hopefully things clear up. We're going to be at the LPGA, our annual show, right outside McGettigan's 19th hole. The LPGA kickoff on Friday. Josh, you'll be there on Saturday with Hanging with Henning, and we're going to be talking to one of the participants later on in the show, weather permitting here. I know it's been a crazy day today. I know the Pro-Am was today. That kind of got moved around. So we're hoping to have Cheyenne Knight on at 4:30 tonight to tell us a little bit more about this year's tournament and what makes it such a unique place to play. Now, they asked me to play the Pro-Am tomorrow, but I'm so bad. And since I don't know the people they wanted to pair me with, I had to decline. I can't play with people I don't know. It's not fair to them to have to get stuck playing with me. Just not fair. I'm so bad. But look forward to this event every year, and we're going to be there on Friday. Our spot that we have, it's a new spot. We used to be right in like the little village back there, which we're still part of that little village, but they built us like a little stage that is right outside McGettigan's 19th hole, beer garden, and there's like a container that they gutted out with the bar. They have really built this area up for this event. It is one of my favorite live broadcasts of the year, the LPGA this Friday. So make an appointment if you've never been to the LPGA, never been to this thing for years, and I've never been to it, check it out. It is a really well-run event, and you get to see some live professional golfers right here in our backyard. The girls are amazing. The women are just unbelievably accurate with their ball striking abilities and the way they do things. It is mesmerizing to get out there and watch. So stop out on Friday and see the show live. This hour is brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation. Call 609-390-3907. All right, coming up, we've got football at 4 in less than a half an hour. The Eagles OTAs just finished up their first day on the practice field. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, he started the day by asking, he starts this pressure by being asked about all the offensive coordinators that Jalen Hurts has had to go through. Here is the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni.
And if you've seen Jalen go through a lot of offensive coordinators, a lot of play callers.
Yeah, again, I think Jalen, one thing that's really special about Jalen is just how consistent he is with his approach to getting better every single day, regardless of, if we're calling a concept one thing or we're calling a concept another thing, or who the play caller is, or who his quarterback coach is. Just consistency from Jalen with how he approaches a daily process, and I always admire that about him.
Nolan Smith was did you address that with him, and what's your overall message to the team?
Yeah, obviously, any conversation I have with any player will always stay private. With that being said, we address everything. Talk about everything. We talk when it's appropriate to talk about it with the individual. We talk about it with the individual. When it's appropriate to discuss it as a team, I'll choose to discuss it as a team. So yeah, it's important. Obviously, what's so important is that we learn from our mistakes, and we not only on the football field but in the in the community as well, and we try to get better from those things. And everything that we go through is a teachable moment on the field, off the field, and that's a big part of getting better. And so, like I said, everything we address, it's just a matter of how we do that with our players. But that's why it's so important that you're in constant communication with your players, have good relationships with your players. Not that every conversation is going to be, hey, lovey-dovey, right? There's hard conversations, there's tough conversations, there's conversations where you laugh, there's conversations where you cry, there's conversations where you go through the process of that. So, yeah.
Sean mentioned sort of a blend in the offense, and you mentioned that with some of the things Jalen has done well. When you went through this with Kellen, do you lean on that when you went through it before?
Sure. Yeah, it's about the best situation that we can put the players in the Philadelphia Eagles in. What is our scheme going to be as the Philadelphia Eagles? And I think that changes year in, year out, whether it's the same coordinator or you promote from within or if you go from the outside. And so we're always doing what we think we need to do to help our players, put them in the best positions to succeed, to do what they do well. And Sean's done an awesome job thus far, and just really like the command that he has in front of the room, and the conviction that he has in front of the room, and the knowledge that he has in front of the room. And so, yeah, we'll see how that looks. We got a long time before we play. We got a lot of practices to go through before we play a game. This is about, figuring out what we do well, what we can do well, and sharpening our tools that, you can run any scheme you want, but if you can't block, if you can't catch, if you can't protect the football, it doesn't really matter. So all those things that aren't looked at as sexy, right? The dirty work stuff. That's what we're working on perfecting right now as we get to know some new terminology and some new things, the way the offense goes, and for that matter, some of the new things. What I love about Coach Fangio is Coach Fangio has continued to evolve his as a coordinator throughout his entire career, and the new things that he's doing. It's never the same year in, year out. So that's what we're working on right now.
Nick, none of your O-linemen, your starting O-linemen, have ever had a different position coach than Stout. What have you seen from Chris Cooper as far as winning those guys over and establishing himself? Yeah, I don't think, again, it's not about the win over. It's about daily doing what your job is supposed to be. And that's the players doing that with Chris and to us as a coaching staff, and us as coaches doing that with them. You're constantly putting deposits in the bank by building trust by, your knowledge, your conviction, daily work. And that's what we're working on right now is that, and that's on both ends. Like, these guys have to build trust with him, and he's got to build trust with them. It's not a one-way street, and it never is. And so that's what we're working on right now. But I love the way Chris comes to work. I've been with the offensive line for the last 5 years. I love how they come to work and with an attempt to get better every single day. Same thing on Chris's part. Great knowledge for the game, great ability to connect with players. Great knowledge of the scheme of the different types of things that we're going to be doing. And then just great growth mindset to figure out things that he may have not done in the past. So that's what we're working on at this particular moment, and that's what's going on. On Rube's question, how much of a learning process is it for a lot of the offensive linemen, considering they've only had pretty much one way under Stoutland before now? Yeah,
again, there's a learning process for what's important, that regardless of carryover, regardless of everything, what's important that everyone needs to do at this time of year is start back at square one and build our habits again from square one. With our fundamentals, we do that with our schemes. We do that with our core values. And so everybody is, and that's what we've tried to do throughout the 5 years. We don't, just because you've been together, the offense has been the same or the defense has been the same, that doesn't mean you just assume that everyone's in phase 4 of where they need to be. No, you start back at square one. You start back at the little minute details. Because we all need reminded on that. I'll be giving the similar messages all year, because it's the relentless approach of the things that you believe in that you need to do on a daily basis. And so that's where we're at right now is everybody's starting at square one, because that's kind of how we go about our off-season program.
Square one, at this point, and the value and the chance to be out there to test the game.
Yeah, again, he's just going through the process. We don't have pads on right now. Obviously, a big part of the evaluation on offensive linemen, and for that matter, any position, it's football, right? See how laser focused I was into that distraction. I mean, it happens all the time, right? So, you're staying so. But this is about performing our fundamentals. There's something I've talked a lot to the guys about. There's some of the things that are happening right now is invisible progress. You just have to keep
going on little fundamental things, understanding that you might not see, the proof of it quite yet. And that's sure as heck a statement for an offensive lineman who really has to go with the physicality of things that has to happen when they play. But it's about those little things, the mental portion of it. I think he's really sharp mentally of being able to pick things up. It seems like he's learning something new every day and, handles the volume that has been thrown at him in a very positive manner. And so, and you like the ability that he has to move and his obvious freakish size when he's out there. So he's had good drills and done really well in drills, has done really well in the classroom. And we look for him to continue to develop in that. But nobody's a finished product right now, as you guys know. I know you guys know that. Like, nobody's a finished product, and we're very early on in the stages of this. We're going to make mistakes out there at practice today as players. We're going to make mistakes out there as practice as coaches. But the mindset has to constantly be is like, okay, made a mistake today. You should be hungry for that and understand how much you can improve on every mistake that you make. And for that matter, every positive thing that you do. And so this is a long process that we're being diligent about every single day to continue to get better. I know it's like, well, that's coach speak. That's just really how we live and how we go about our business of just staying locked into the present.
What have you seen in the growing relationship between Sean and Jalen and your relationship with Sean as well?
Yeah. Again, it's a process. All right. It's a process in that, like, trust is built through, hardships together. Trust is built as you go through this with time spent together. Trust is built through daily showing up and doing what you're supposed to do. Right. And so it takes time. Like I said, what I admire about Jalen is just one of the things I admire about Jalen is his commitment to get better every single day and his commitment to the process. And when you do that, you build that trust with people. And Sean's here at all hours of the day. Not sure I've beat Sean in here yet this year, and I'm not sure I've left earlier than him, or I've always left earlier than him. To this point, like he grinds and he does what he's supposed to do and works really hard at his craft. And so, like, you admire that, but that takes time and that's built. And so that's what we're working on right now. Again, all this is a process, I think. And I understand your guys' questions because, like, I haven't talked to you in a while. Let me ask some of these questions. And I guess my answer to most of them has been, well, it's a process. It's a process. It is. It's not. I'm not trying to give you guys just coach speak. It's just the way it is. But we talk about that trust a lot of how that's built. And those are really, the hardships, the time that you spend and consistently doing what you're supposed to do is what builds those things. So, and those guys don't, Sean and Jalen, what I admire about them is they don't miss a day on that. So whatever day we're on right now, 50s, I don't think it's that high, but 30, whatever, that's how far along we are in the relationship, because I'm not sure that either of those guys have missed a day where they've, of doing what they're supposed to do because of who they are.
Has Devontae's attendance been any different this spring than previous years?
I'd have to look there. We've had, what I'm excited about of the attendance that we've had of the guys that have been here, and excited to work with the guys at this point of the season. And but I would have to go back, Geoff, and look at that. And but I know this about Devontae. Every day he's here, he's working his butt off.
There he is, the head coach, Nick Sirianni. Nothing earth-shattering there. Obviously, at the end there, talking about having the guys that are here. One that is not A.J. Brown, and you'll hear what Jalen Hurts said about no A.J. Brown in the offense. Sounds like everybody knows what's going on. You'll hear what Jalen Hurts had to say coming up on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN plus Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher in 14 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Coming up in 9 minutes, football at 4, Geoff Mosher. Jalen Hurts today, we're going to dive into a couple things he said, which it's the first time he's really been asked about A.J. Brown, Sean Mannion. We've heard a little bit about his working with them, but, they're back at OTAs. It's a new offense, and obviously the biggest change in this offense is going to be for the quarterback. He's got the biggest role change. Everybody's got a little different changes, but Jalen Hurts hasn't been under center virtually his entire career. I mean, he very, very infrequently works under center, and that's going to be something that I think he's going to have to get a lot more used to. So he's asked about A.J. Brown today. What's it like? What's the offense? What would the offense be like without A.J. Brown? Because he's not here yet. He just isn't at the OTAs. He's still a member of the team. But what would you look at the offense? Now, he gets asked the question, and as he's getting asked the question, he goes to a drink of water, and he slowly sips the water, and he's like, I guess I went for my sip at the right time here. So we kind of took that part out of the question here, but here is what Hurts had to say about an offense without A.J. Brown.
There's an if, obviously been a lingering thing, but nothing can replace all the greatness that we achieved together.
Jalen, a lot been made of your relationship with AJ in regards to this trade. Where are you two at, I guess? Kind of friendship or company?
Yeah, nothing's changed since we last spoke at the end of the season. We were really good, and I saw how beautiful the pictures came out at his wedding. I'm very happy for him and his wife and his family, and it's a beautiful thing to step into covenant. So I was very excited and congratulatory towards that.
It's very exciting to step into covenant. This guy. So he says nothing's changed from the end of last season. We're good. We'll see how that answer changes on June the 3rd when he's not in the building anymore. And he's asked about A.J. Brown, and he's talking about the fact that you can't replace the greatness that they achieved. Well, guess what? You're going to have to find a way to do it. And it's the Bob Myers, Daryl Morey discussion. Are two high-level receivers better than 4 or 5 guys that can all help out? That's essentially what the Eagles are trying to do now. They're going with depth over stars. A.J. Brown going to be out. Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown, Mekhi Lemon, those guys are in. We'll talk about it with Geoff Mosher. What's better, 2 stars or a lot of depth at wide receiver? That and more. New offense for the Birds. It's on the field for the first time today, and Jalen Hurts talking about the new offensive philosophy and working with Sean Mannion. That's all coming up next on the Sports Bash.
ultimately it's a different leader, different coordinator, different philosophical approach. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to learn the new brand of football, perspective.
Just sounds like he's thrilled. Just exciting to learn a new offense and a new brand of football. Let's go. I don't think there's anything that excites Jalen Hurts, quite frankly. But he didn't sell me on he's excited about this new offense. Geoff Mosher is here as the Eagles are back on the field. And I know Hurts is a tough guy to read, but this is him. That's about as excited as he's going to get, Jeff. He's excited about a new offense and approach, it sounds like. Should we buy into his excitement here, man?
Oh, gosh. I mean, you can just feel the excitement. You can cut it with a knife, Mike Gill. I think
now, let me tell you,
best.
I did not hear that bite beforehand. I just said, hey, we'll go with that bite on the way back, and I'll react to it. And it is labeled, Hurts says the new offense is exciting. And that is what I got.
Well, imagine if it said Hurts doesn't really like the new offense. You probably would have got the same tone.
Jeez. The new offense is what everybody's kind of wondering here.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it's exciting to learn new things. But I wonder, how much do you think Jalen was ready to move on from everything that he's done before? Like, do you think he said, you know what, guys, I think we need a different offense?
That's
never really been considered throughout this. We all just assumed that they felt we need to do something different and made him. How much input did maybe he have?
Yeah, I mean, he's the quarterback, so he always has input. It goes back to that story by ESPN about the last play against the 49ers, the 4 verts call and all that, and his input. I don't think Jalen Hurts looks at the pass offense of the last 2 years and thinks all we needed was to keep doing the same thing and get better. So I imagine he is excited for anything that might give the offense a fresher look, a different look. But at the same time, I'm not in his head, but the offense looked a certain way because they felt that was the best. The multiple coordinators felt that was really the best and most efficient way to have the offense run. So that it becomes like a catch-22 situation. I don't know how much he wanted to. I know he wants different results. I don't know how much change that he wanted, but he's got it, and he has adapted before, so I'm sure he'll have no issue adapting again. As long most coaches tell me and most players tell me, Mike, that they are up for anything, any kind of coaching, any kind of scheme and strategy if it makes them a better football player.
So Sean Mannion said in his opening press conference that he was going to blend the offense. Nick Sirianni was asked about that today, blend the offense with some of the things that Hurts has done well. I guess my question is, in the first year, after 7 games, they scrapped the offense and completely changed it.
Yeah, that's
Do you
not
think
happening.
Sean Mannion is on right? I was going to say, does he have do you get 10 games to make sure this thing works because that's when their bye week is, or do you think they're in this for the long haul? What does blending mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, blending is that remains to be seen. I think everybody winces a little bit when they hear that, but honestly, there are things that the Eagles have done very well in an old offense. The tush push is something they've done really well. Deep balls down the sideline, things that they've done well. I would say no huddle. If they want to incorporate, I don't know how much of that is prevalent in the Shanahan, LaFleur, McVay type of scheme. They're all a little bit different anyway, but I don't know how much of them really use no huddle the way the Eagles have used no huddle advantageously over the past few years. And I think that any good coach adapts to his scheme as well, or his personnel, as well. So if Sean Mannion really wants to get the most out of the Eagles and capitalize on the strength of Jalen Hurts and what he sees out there, he'll figure out a way to make sure that they continue to use no huddle as well if he continues to see that being advantageous. So that when they say blend, that's what I think. And that's what I hope and imagine. But there's no question you don't move on from a guy like Jeff Stoutland, right? You don't bring in a guy who's only been coached for 2 years and then let him hire other guys like Ryan Mahaffey if you're not making the wholesale change and committed to sticking to it.
Yeah, and look, this is a team that has been kind of run first, right? A run first oriented offense. And now it's going to be a more balanced attack, you would think. The one question is, we were talking about this a little while ago, is I don't know if you saw the exchange that had been going around between Bob Myers and Daryl Morey, where Myers essentially saying you got to have depth, and Morey saying, well, how do you get the depth? You know, you went out and signed Iguodala. You didn't have to pay him. You could have got 3 guys and gave him $5 million.
Right.
I guess with the wide receiver position, what's better, 2 stars or 4 good players?
Yeah, and I think that depends on who you are offensively. It worked to have 2 star. It didn't make sense to have 4 or 5 really good receivers for the Eagles under their old offense because they only really targeted 2 wideouts and they didn't throw the ball all that much. And I don't think they're going to throw the ball a whole lot more under this. I want to be clear. The purpose of what they expect from Sean Mannion, as I understand it, is to make sure that their run game and their play action pass game has a good marriage together, that it makes sense, that your run plays are setting up what you do in your passing game through play action and being under center. So I don't think they want to get away from being a run first team. You know, they may wind up that they run the ball as much or as frequently or as effectively as they did 2 years ago with Saquon Barkley. It's the whole point of making sure that when they do pass, it is not as predictable, it is more fresh, and it works off of what they've already been doing in the run game, both formationally and strategically.
Last week, I guess, when Vic Fangio spoke, he kind of slid in there that they're going to play Cooper DeJean at safety. What was your takeaway from that comment that kind of just got slipped under there? And I don't know that there was a lot of follow-up or it almost
heck no, there was. I wrote a story about it. That was the biggest takeaway I had in the whole damn thing.
I'm saying at the time, like you don't get like a follow-up question to that. It's almost like he answers it and then you have to like move on.
Right.
So he didn't really get to explain it. What did you take away from what he said?
Well, first of all, my biggest takeaway.
I read your story, hence I asked you the question.
I know. My biggest takeaway was that I love Vic Fangio because as a reporter, and no offense to Nick Sirianni, but my God, was that excruciating, his press conference today. I mean, just nothing. There was nothing. You're just looking, and by the way, it's not like we're salacious and we're looking for headline. I mean, I want to hear information that is X's and O's, that is personnel related, that makes sense from a football standpoint. And so Vic killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that revelation, because when he said that Cooper DeJean was going to play safety in base, what he basically also said was that he expects Rick Woolen to be a full-time outside cornerback, not somebody who's only coming in to play outside and then move DeJean from outside corner to nickel like they did with Adoree Jackson. And I think that that's fascinating because Vic really kind of salivated over Rick Woolen. He said he watched a lot of tape on him from last trade deadline in the offseason. If you recall, last training camp, Vic said he watched no tape at all on Adoree Jackson when Howie signed him. So right away, we don't have like the kiss of death from Vic Fangio on tape watching. But I think it's fascinating because the Seattle Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl with a great defense, just told the NFL 2 things. One, they didn't think that Rick Woolen should play on first down. Now, maybe it's because they love their other personnel in that regard and they don't think he's a great tackler, but Rick Woolen mostly played like 60% of the game in nickel only, right? And 2, they were trying to trade him at the deadline, all right? A Super Bowl team is trying to get rid of a pretty big piece.
And Vic admitted that they were interested.
Yeah. And yet Vic, who's as, bold and not effusive as any crusty defensive coordinator in the league, is sort of giving you the opposite. He's raving over his size and his length, and he's telling you he's going to play, at least the plan. The plan is to play him every snap at outside corner. So I just say, as a reporter, I look at this and say, this is awesome. Something's got to give. Either Vic's right and Seattle's wrong, Seattle's right, Vic's wrong, or the guy just was different in different schemes. But to me, that's the fascinating part of the conversation.
So do you anticipate that his role in the defense will be different than it's been?
Rick Woolen's?
Did Cooper?
Well, yeah, he's going to play safety for rundowns and then move to nickel, in nickel back in nickel downs. And by the way, the really interesting thing about that, Mike, is that I wrote a story about this too. They're playing about 7 or 8 teams in the first half of the year that ideally like to be in 12 personnel. Okay, now the Eagles last year saw the most amount of snaps of 11 personnel. All right, so they were in nickel 80% of the time because that's 3 wide receivers, right? So with 12 personnel, when 2 tight ends are on the field, right, usually Vic Fangio is going to go to his base defense. So if these teams stay true to form and play a lot of tight ends, and if they don't fall behind too early and have to get into a passing game against the Eagles, right? If the Eagles see a lot of 12 personnel, then you'll probably see DeJean playing more safety this year than he did outside corner last year, and that means you'll see Woolen on the field the whole time anyway. So that's a lot. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, how much? I guess they've used Cooper as that slot nickel corner, pretty much, because as like you said, you're not in your base defense all that much.
Right. Last year, the Eagles were in it about 75% of the time. And even some teams that normally play, like, for example, they played the Rams last year, week 4, was that right? Week 4 was the block punt game, block field goal.
Yeah. And ironically, they play the Rams in week 4 again this year.
Right. So if you go back to that game, the Rams had not yet become the 3 tight end team that they shocked the world with last year by about middle of the year. The Rams last year played like 30% of 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, 1 running back, and 1 receiver. So that's a very uncommon personnel grouping. And the Rams played it more than 3 times more than the next highest team. But when the Eagles played them, they weren't at that stage of their development yet, and they played mostly 11 personnel. And same thing with the Niners. When Kittle got hurt, they had to play a lot more 11 personnel than 21 or 12 personnel. So interestingly, that's why the Eagles faced a lot of 11. Even some of the 12 personnel teams weren't playing 12 personnel against them.
Yeah. So
that's really wonky stuff, by the way. We just got really deep into tight end.
Well, then the safety combo, like for the listeners out there, we're saying is Drew Makuba and Cooper DeJean.
Yeah. So what the Eagles don't really need now is a starting safety as much as they need a nickel safety, a third safety for when DeJean goes to the nickel back slot. And that will either be Marcus Epps, maybe Michael Carter II, who got reps there today. That's what they're really looking for.
Who takes on that slot corner role then?
No, that's DeJean. He's the slot corner in nickel. He moves from safety to nickel.
Gotcha.
And then you put in a new safety. Yeah.
So at that point, then you're going to have Woolen, DeJean, and Quignon will be your 3 corners, and then Makuba and probably Epps at this point right now would be the guy that moves into that spot.
Yeah, and that was another revelation from Vic. I mean, he kind of made it sound like he was pleasantly surprised by Marcus Epps last year, and that he didn't play as quote unquote as old as his age would say that he is, because I think he's 30 or going to be 30 when the season starts. So clearly Marcus Epps has the leg up. That's what he thinks now. I think athletically, Michael Carter II would give them a little bit more, but that's why they're going to have a competition, and we'll see if anybody else can get in there.
Yeah. And it's funny because last week when he went through all the options at safety, he mentioned every single safety you can think of, except for Cole Wisniewski, the guy that they drafted. Right. I mean,
right.
I don't know if he just kind of slipped his mind, or it's always it's funny when Sirianni mentioned one of the running backs a couple of years ago. We're like, oh, he might like that running back. And that guy we never heard from again. So
correct.
Cole Wisniewski, don't take it as a slight.
I mean, first of all, he's a 7th round pick. He's a little bit big for the position. They may have more of a linebacker role for him. I mean, if he's going to make the team, it's going to be because of special teams. It seemed like there was an avenue there because we were having a lot of questions about who's the starting safety. But now that we know that DeJean is the starting safety, there's really not an avenue for Wisniewski to be, I think, the 3rd safety, unless for some reason he is just lights out. He's like the Darius Cooper of this year's training camp, but just makes all these plays and forces himself into the equation.
If Geoff Mosher was looking at, adding something, would you be interested in Josh Sweat?
I mean, yes, of course, but then you've got to kind of figure out you do it to get a good player, but then you've got to get rid of some players because you're already 4 deep with Ebiketie, right? As your, I mean, you got Jalix Hunt, you got Nolan Smith, you got Jonathan Grenard, you got Arnold Ebiketie as your top 4 right there. Vic typically only plays 3. And by the way, if Brandon Graham comes back, then you got another guy who's definitely going to play. So if you're adding another edge rusher, whether it's Josh Sweat or I know Myles Garrett, then there's no way all these guys are going to.
Well, you would likely be giving up. Let's say Nolan Smith. Hey, you drove 137 miles an hour. We're not happy with that. And I don't know that they want to, that 5th-year option and his contractual situation. Is he a guy that they would say, you know what, we'd move on from?
No, I cannot see it. I cannot imagine a 1-for-1 like Nolan Smith for Josh Sweat trade. No, Josh Sweat's at the downside of his career. Nolan Smith, say what you want. Injuries or driving 100 and something miles per hour. I mean, he's got a lot more years ahead of him.
Do you see Nolan Smith in their long-term big picture plans?
I don't know that. That I can't say. I mean,
right. So if you think if they know that, do you say, you know what, for a crack at a Super Bowl this year, Josh Sweat was pretty important the last time. No. He's still got something left in the tank.
No, Howie's not going to do a bad deal just to do a bad deal. I mean, if the Cardinals want to give the Eagles like a 2nd-round pick in Josh Sweat or a 3rd, then maybe it's a conversation. But he's not going to take. He's not going to get himself.
I'm not saying it has to be a 1-for-1. Maybe you get creative and add some other pieces to it, but just saying player for player, because this goes to my conversation that I've been saying about A.J. Brown. If you're trading A.J. Brown and you're not getting anything back to help this team out, that still bothers me a little bit.
Understood. Yeah. But no, I mean, first of all, I think that I haven't looked at it. I think the cap hit the Arizona would take would be pretty exorbitant. So they'd probably want a lot in a trade. It doesn't seem like good partnership there.
Daniel Jeremiah had an interesting tweet the other day. I want to get your response to this. Okay. Did you see it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He said, I'd like to revisit this concept for every NFL team.
I saw it.
To build a championship foundation, you need these 12 spots.
Mm-hmm.
1, you need a quarterback. Do the Eagles have that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. You need 3 offensive playmakers. Do the Eagles have that?
Barkley, Devontae Smith is 2 for sure. I mean, I don't. He kind of leaves that vague there. Like, I think Goddard's a playmaker, so I'm fine with that. I mean, Mekhi Lemon could be a playmaker, but yeah, I think they're good there.
3 quality offensive linemen.
Well, they surely have 2. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, they have 3, even though we have some questions about Juergens and Dickerson.
2 pass rushers.
Yeah.
And 3 defensive playmakers.
Yeah.
Okay.
More than that.
3 defensive playmakers. Yeah, you've got.
Oh my God! I mean, you got 2 right there, in DeJean and Mitchell, right? And then you got your edge rushers. I mean, Jalix Hunt last year led them in sacks and interceptions, so I consider him a playmaker. I mean, Jalen Carter's one of the. I mean, yeah, they're stocked there.
The 3 quality offensive line is very arbitrary on health.
Yeah.
The Eagles' offensive line is akin to the Sixers relying on Joel Embiid and Paul George.
Oh, let's not go that far. We've got one. We only have 1 year of Eagles offensive line wear and tear, not like a consistent every single year.
To be fair, Lane Johnson has missed a lot of games over the last. I mean, he'll miss 4 here, true. 8 there.
Yeah, no, that part of it, Lane a little fair, but yeah.
He's getting to that part of his career where it's like Jason Peters was in his last couple of years in Philadelphia.
That's a really good analogy. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, I know I can only get him for 8 games. We just need to get him to the playoffs healthy. Right. And Landon Dickerson, we have no idea where his career is going to go from here.
That's correct. We don't. I mean, this is a huge year for Landon Dickerson. If you considered retirement, he's coming back. He's had multiple surgeries. I mean, what's it, 5 now? 6 procedures on his lower legs. So, the biggest thing right now that the Eagles need is some bona fide interior offensive line depth that can step in and play at a high level at guard or center.
Geoff Mosher, candidates for breakout season.
Oh, I thought you were going to go through my story. Okay. Yeah. So what I got, Mike, who do I have? Oh, Dontavian Wicks, who is not at the OTA today. I think Dontavian Wicks is a good candidate, Mike, because he's going to get a lot of opportunity at what we call the X spot. Now, I don't know if in Sean Mannion's offense, if they're going to be so condensed and it's not going to matter who's X, who's Y, who's Z. It doesn't matter. But without AJ Brown, he is their tall, physical, strong receiver. And I have to think that I would have to think inside Wicks knew that people thought that second year he was really going to break out, and it never happened. Then he sort of regressed last year. I kind of hope that he comes here with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and, feels wanted by Sean Mannion and really driven to be a more consistent player, because he's got all the tools. I'm not saying he's going to be AJ Brown or 1,400 yards, but I think he could be 700 to 800 yards in this offense if he's that kind of guy. And, it might really benefit him to be with Jalen Hurts, who likes to throw deep and outside the numbers, because he's a good contested catch kind of guy.
All right. Well, OTAs continue. They're off tomorrow. They're back on Friday. And then next week, a couple of days, they are back on Monday and Tuesday next week. I think they're back on Wednesday and Monday and Tuesday. They're off Wednesday. They're back on Thursday next week. So you got a little bit of Eagles here for the next 2 weeks. Then you have a mandatory coming up. And by the time we get to the mandatory, I would imagine number 11 is gone, and we will be able to move on with the almost finished product for training camp. And Geoff Mosher and the guys at Inside the Birds will have plenty more over at InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms and right here daily on Football at 4. All right, man. Good stuff.
All right. Take care, Mike.
Geoff Mosher, everybody. Football at 4, of course, right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you check out Football at 4 every day on the Sports Bash, and check out the Inside the Birds podcast each and every day. Football at 4 is brought to you by Casino Resort and the Fanatics Sportsbook. It's the best place for game day. Ocean Casino Resort. And you got Phil's in action currently. The game just got underway. And scoreless streak, add another inning. Out number 3 as I turn around. Phil's 0-0 at the end of 1 against the Padres. Scoreless streak up to 38 2/3 innings pitched for Christopher Sanchez. And when we come back, the LPGA is in town. We're going to introduce you to one of the players on the tour, although she won't be playing in this year's event. We'll tell you why coming up next on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 4:30 on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. You know, the ShopRite LPGA is in town. It starts on Friday. We will be live right outside McGettigan's 19th hole. Stop out and see the show. As we told you earlier, one of my favorite events of the year. Hoping to get out there all day on Saturday. I love getting out there on Saturday, and I definitely recommend everybody out there. If you've never been to the ShopRite before, get out there Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for one of the days. You will have a blast, not only walking around, but you will be mesmerized at the level of play from the players out there, including one of the players. She's with Team Shop right now. She's not playing in this year's event. We'll tell you why coming up in just a minute, but I got a chance to meet her on the media day. Today was the Pro-Am. Cheyenne Knight is with us here. She is part of Team ShopRite. They are sponsoring 4 players this year, and Cheyenne is one of them. She's in town with the ShopRite LPGA, and she joins us right now as the Pro-Am. A little wet over there today, Cheyenne, is it not?
It was wet today, but it looks good for this weekend, so that's all that matters.
It's always an awesome event. That Pro-Am, I believe it's like the largest Pro-Am in the sport. I mean, to see the amount of people that go out there and play year in and year out, it's kind of a really unique, cool opportunity for, local random business owners or whoever to get a chance to play with the ladies.
Yeah, it's a huge Pro-Am week. It's super fun for us to meet a bunch of different people, and a lot of them are ShopRite customers or that are involved in the community. So it's a really fun event. And since it was raining, we all got to go inside and hang out with each other as well.
Cheyenne, obviously, you just saw the course. It's a little weather, but you've been out here a couple of times before. What are some of the things that you particularly like about the course over at Seaview?
I really like how the tournament's 3 days. So as soon as the first round starts, you have to kind of put your foot on the gas, different than a normal 4-day tournament. I think the course, if you're a long hitter, it's a huge advantage. There's a lot of reachable par 5s that you can kind of take advantage of. And I love the course because it always produces an exciting finish. And you see a lot of girls like win for the first time, or Linnea Strom a few years ago teed off really early Sunday morning, shot low 60s and ended up winning the tournament. So you can definitely go low, and it's always an exciting tournament.
Yeah, and the tournament you mentioned, a lot of times you get unique winners. And last year, the tour, I think it was like 29 or 30 different winners. You got Nelly Korda dominating this year. We see somebody kind of get their first opportunity this weekend at the ShopRite?
I think it might be a first-time winner, or I think someone like Charlie Hall might win again, a multiple winner on the LPGA. So I think it's either going to be a top player or maybe just kind of someone you never even heard of before.
You are a part of Team ShopRite, helping to promote ShopRite's commitment to elevating women's sports, which has just exploded in the last 5 years or so here. But this event has always done well. It draws well. The support is unbelievable. But talk a little bit about being a part of Team ShopRite and ShopRite's commitment to this tournament and the commitment from the community. I mean, this place Friday is always jamming Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, it's a great event, and what ShopRite has, it's one of the longest running LPGA tournaments, and just how committed they are to the LPGA and to us players, and just trying to make the week as easy as possible for us. We all get a free hotel room at the resort. They have a family center this week, and just trying to make everything easy for us. And I'm on maternity leave, and so for them to continue to sponsor me when I kind of took maternity leave last year and into this year, to continue to sponsor me and support me says a lot about them as a company, and just all the money they give back to the charities and the local communities. I'm doing some stuff with the Special Olympics this week, and it just says a lot about them as a company. Yeah,
you had your son Cooper back in December of 2025. You're planning on being back on the tour next season. How's taking the time off and being mom? Is it making you not want to get back on the tour?
It's funny. I haven't played like a ton of golf, but I'm playing in the Pro-Ams this week. So last week I was practicing a little bit, and being out today and just seeing all my friends, it definitely made me miss the tour life and miss competing. So yeah, once he gets a little bit older, I'll kind of start to practice to compete for next season. But getting to spend the one-on-one time with him is really special and time that I will never get back. So just soaking it all in.
By the way, tickets for the event at ShopRiteLPGA.com. ShopRite Price Plus members, just show your card. You can get in for free. We're going to be there on Friday with our show from 2 to 6 right in the parking lot in the little village there outside of McGettigan's 19th hole. Josh's show will be there on Saturday. You've joined the tour, 2018, 2019. We're in 2026. How is this game? We just talked about the explosion of women's sports. How have you seen the change on the tour?
Yeah, I would say, my rookie year was 2019. I think the tour just kind of is getting bigger and bigger. I kind of like week to week, what I've been seeing is just a lot more people come out and watch. A lot of people bring their kids. That's one thing. I never went to an LPGA tournament growing up. So, I think women's sports is booming right now, and the LPGA has a great opportunity to just continue to grow the game. And I think, like a player like Nelly or just whoever is, playing really well brings a lot of excitement to the tour is always a good thing. So I think this week is going to be an exciting winner. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, and we talk about the support that this tournament gets. Some of the past winners, it always seems that they always enjoy playing this course and the support that they get when they come here. And you look at how everything's evolved with this particular event. What is one of the things about the area? Do you get a chance to kind of come around? You were here for Media Day. Well, it was like a couple weeks ago. Do you get a chance to come? It's unique to play like in Atlantic City being right across, and how this area is kind of unique for a setting like this.
Yeah, it's one of the pros. We're just staying at the resort, so a lot of us kind of go to like the local restaurants around here for dinner. But tonight we're going to the Pro-Am party
there
in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock. Yep. So we're excited to go see that. And girls go to some nice dinners, go to Nobu, and they really enjoy the food scene over there.
You look at I've been to those parties. They're always so well done, and there's just a ton of people. It's amazing to see the support as we keep talking about. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about is you played college golf at Alabama, correct?
I did, yes. Roll Tide.
All right. 16, 17, and 18, you were the SEC golfer of the year. So did you cross paths with Jalen Hurts while you were there?
I did. We had a few classes together, actually. We had a few communication classes. So that was both of our majors. So, yes.
So right before you came on, we had his press conference from today. We were playing some of his audio from there. Not the most talkative guy in the world. Is he more talkative when he's not in a press conference?
I haven't really seen the talkative side of him, and I feel like if he does ever say something, you need to pay attention. He got called on a few times in class, but he was always ready to answer the question.
Well, obviously, both of you have turned out to have great careers here. He obviously here in Philadelphia. You are in town this weekend with the ShopRite LPGA. It's one of the longest tournaments that's going on right now. Now, you're not playing this year. You said you had your son back in December. You're planning on coming back in 2027. Will you be in town for the entire weekend, or are you just in town for the lead up to this?
Yes, I'll be in town until Sunday. I'm going to go, watch the other members of Team ShopRite, Adahar Munoz, Gianna Clement, and Rachel Keene, and some of my other buddies on the LPGA. But I'll be around doing some stuff, and I'm going to go out and watch the golf. So people should come out and watch. It's a very walkable course, and it's a course where you can sit one place and see a few holes at a time. So it's a great spectator course.
Yeah, you've got the 17th hole. You got the Hard Rock Suite there. adjacent to the 12th hole. That is the Serve Pro Hero Outpost. We're all military, and family members will receive complimentary admission. So that's the 12th hole. And then the 18th, right over 18, that's a nice spot. I always perch myself up there. It's amazing to watch the accuracy from that shot on 18, which usually takes me about 5 to get there. Most of your teammates and competitors are getting up on that green in 2 or well, probably 3. 2 would be unbelievable, but that is just watching the precision and the accuracy. That's what gets me every single year is how precise the ladies are when you watch. You really marvel at how unbelievably these professionals are. You ever watch when you're not playing, just like, my gosh, it's amazing how accurate some of these shots are.
Oh yeah, no, and I've been watching some golf at home, and just watching like how good they are. I'm like, man, I need to get practicing. I need to get a lot better so I'm ready to play when I come back. But no, I feel like what kind of like stands out, like the girls don't really make a lot of mistakes, really accurate, really consistent. And, if they do make a mistake, really good short games. And yeah, this course requires accuracy because if you can hit the fairway, then you can, generate some spin from the fairway because the greens are probably what is the trickiest part about this golf course.
Well, I know it's been a long day with the rain and the Pro-Am and obviously everything. Now, they asked me to play in the Pro-Am tomorrow. I had to decline because I said it's not fair for someone to have to play with me on that bad. Although, when I saw you at Media Day, the one shot, I smoked that ball right down. I don't know if you remember that, but I said –
I saw it, yes.
See,
I was there. You have a witness.
A witness right there. Hey, we wish you luck. Being a mom, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this year off. And then, of course, in 2027, you have a tremendous season, and we look forward to the weekend. We'll be over there Friday with our show. Cheyenne Knight, everybody here from the ShopRite, Team ShopRite, and the ShopRite LPGA Classic is this weekend at the Seaview. Thanks so much, Cheyenne.
Thank you for having me. Hope to see you guys this weekend.
Everybody get out there. If you haven't been, there you go. It's an awesome opportunity, and she marvels at watching some of the shooters there. Did you know in 1992, ShopRite has donated, since 1992, they've donated more than $45 million to area hospitals, food banks, education, and youth programs, plus other community champions through its work with the LPGA, the most of any event on the LPGA Tour, and we are always so happy to be out there. Look, it is Friday, the first day of the event. It's always pretty crowded out there. Saturday, it gets, very crowded out there. And hopefully the weather is much better than what we've been getting all week long here, which has not been very amenable. But good to catch up with Cheyenne. Yeah, so she witnessed my shot. She witnessed my shot on, I guess that would be, where did I shoot? How did we won? I think it was on the first hole. No, you were out there today, right?
Yeah, I was around the property today. I was there initially on Sunday. But even watched on social media. I got the full tour on Sunday.
Yeah. So when I played in the Media Day on hole 1, she was standing right at the first tee there.
Yeah.
And that's where Jeremy from the LPGA, he said, "Hey, it's Cheyenne Knight," and she introduced herself and he said hello. And then I said, "Oh, hold on one second. I got to take my shot." And I smashed that thing. I need the pressure. That's what I need.
You need the eyeballs.
Yeah. If you so when you do the Pro-Am, they have the guy at the first tee, and they'll say, "No, step me to the tee." Like he introduces you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing, right? And everybody's sitting there watching.
The adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I don't like to be. Kind of, but I need that pressure. I need the pressure. So, looking forward to the weekend. You'll be out there Saturday all day.
Yep.
12 to 3.
Yeah, I'll be there Saturday, and I'll probably hang around Sunday too.
You going back Sunday, huh?
That's at least the plan.
You gonna go Saturday?
Well, I'm
You
there
gonna
Saturday.
stay? No, I'm saying you're gonna stay for after your show.
Yeah, I'll hang around. Of course. I'm
It's
already
great
there.
time. Great time. I'm hoping to get there Saturday.
Well, you know how it is. Once you're already there, it's like I'm already here. Where else am I gonna go?
Like Friday, when we go Friday, I'll get there. We do the show 2 to 6, but I'll get there early. I'll walk the course. I'll walk the little village there, and Nuggets will be there with me. We'll have our team out there.
It'll be
doing some
nice if
social
Nuggets
media
actually finally returns.
Yeah, he's on vacation. I talked to him a little bit today. And then we will, on Saturday, I might go back Saturday. It's either Saturday or Sunday. I'm not 100% sure yet. I want to see what the weather looks like. But once I'm there, I'm locked in.
Yep.
Locked in. So stop out this weekend and check out the ShopRite LPGA. That was Cheyenne Knight from the team ShopRite joining us here on the Sports Bash. All right, coming up, 5 o'clock hour on the show, Kevin Cooney from the Cooney Report. We're going to be talking to Kevin throughout the summer. He's got this great new Substack, which I think everybody out there should sign up for. It's free to do. Kevin Cooney on Substack. He's got a list of the owners, GMs, and coaches in this town, and he ranks them all, score 1 to 10. Hear what the scores are. We'll do that coming up in the next hour. 15 minutes. Don't go away. More Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 4:50, 10 to the top of the hour. Kevin Cooney from the Cooney Report going to join us at 5. It should be a fun conversation with him. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Jalen Hurts today was asked about Sean Mannion and working with Sean Mannion and how that's been enjoyable. I wonder if it sounds more enjoyable than the new offensive philosophy. Here's what Jalen Hurts said about working with Sean Mannion.
Yeah, it's been a really good process so far. He's come in and he's very clear, giving good direction. You can definitely see the vision, been able to answer all of my questions. Very instructive, very helpful. So it's been a very enjoyable journey so far.
I mean, to me, that's the most you've ever gotten out of Jalen Hurts. He's never said anything nice about Kevin Patullo or anybody else, really. This one, it sounds like, hey, this guy answers my questions. Why are we doing this, coach? This is why. Oh, okay. As opposed to the past where, hey, why are we doing this? I don't know. It's just the play. I mean, no, to me, it sounds like Hurts legitimately has some level of, I'm buying into this guy. I like how the scheme is designed. I like what our philosophy looks like. That's the most rise I think I've ever heard out of Jalen Hurts. And excitement. We played this bite earlier today about the offensive philosophy, and take a listen.
Ultimately, it's a different leader, different coordinator, different philosophical approach. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to learn the new brand of football, get new perspective, and just grow.
Yeah, he didn't sell me that he was excited there. But when he talked about Mannion and working with him, I got sold a little bit that he said, I like a coach that can answer my questions.
I will never be able to listen to Jalen Hurts the same way again now that I'm knowing that he was in the same communications class as Cheyenne Knight.
Well, she said that he wasn't very talkative in that class.
Like hearing how engaging she is and then listening to Jalen Hurts now for all these years, I don't know how much he took from that class. I think he's just kind of like, I'm Jalen Hurts.
She said he got called on and he was prepared and ready to go.
He's always prepared. We know he's prepared. Like that's who he is, right?
By the way, Christopher Sanchez is mowing through Padres right now. He has 2 outs in the third.
He had men on first and third in the last inning, though. So he did escape.
Well, if he gets this out right here, that'll be
the tie.
37, 38. What is he at? 30. He came in with 37. Right. So 38, 39. This will be 40.
Right. This would tie the record.
And that will do it. He will get that out. It's a fly ball to Garcia. So he has gotten through 3 innings scoreless. So he is basically needs to get through the next inning to set that record. And he will be the Phillies' all-time single season scoreless inning streak.
All time.
Grover Cleveland Alexander currently has it. So if he gets the 1, 2, 3, it doesn't even need to be 1, 2, 3, just can't give up a run in the next inning. So we'll keep an eye on that. Kevin Cooney's going to comment on that, where this pitcher is historically with the Phillies, because nobody ever thought that Christopher Sanchez would be talked about in the greats of Philadelphia sports pitching lore, but we might be having one right here.
The best comment earlier was McGarry saying nobody in our listening audience was alive to see Grover Cleveland Alexander.
Nobody was, I don't think, anyway. I can't imagine. I would be
not.
pretty shocked. Kevin Cooney, our buddy from the Cooney Report on Substack, is going to join me coming up next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 5 o'clock, driving you home. Longest scoreless inning streaks. Christopher Sanchez needs to get through this inning. He's got zeros going through 3. The Phillies, of course, have matched them with their offense, which is not surprising. Kevin Cooney over at the Cooney Report. Kevin Cooney on Substack writes about the dilemma the Phillies have. What is the biggest problem with the Phillies? Did they already get rid of him? Was it Rob Thompson? Phillies have turned things around post Rob Thompson. But was he their biggest issue? We'll get into that. We'll look at the Philly front offices and more with Kevin Cooney from the Cooney Report. Check out his new Substack, kevincooney.substack.com, as he joins us now on the Sports Bash. Kevin, welcome back, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How you doing?
Hanging in there. We're looking at, can you believe, it feels like this Sanchez scoreless inning streak has got completely swept under the rug by the ineptitude of their offense.
This is, it's strange because, like, when him and Wheeler pitch, you go, oh, man, I got to watch. And then every other day, it's like, yeah, what's on the History Channel? You know, like at this point with this team. So.
I mean, they're going on, how many, what are they going on here? It's the 4th inning now. They haven't scored. They didn't score Saturday night for this poor guy. It's amazing. They got their manager fired, but as you write about over on your Substack, the Cooney Report, Rob Thompson was not the biggest problem with this team. What is the biggest problem?
It's roster construction, Mike. And if you look at the way that they have designed this roster and the way that they have, the right-handed bats they have are not acceptable for a team that has World Series aspirations. They've gone old. They didn't ever really have a plan for what life after JT Realmuto was going to be like, so they just extended him for 3 years. Like, just little things along the way. And I don't know, if there's any manager who could have done wonders with this roster right now. It's better. They've played better. Part of it is because they faced a softer portion of the schedule, until they went to the until they played the Guardians, and then they went to the West Coast. But the Padres right now are struggling offensively as well as anybody else. A lot of this is just roster construction. There's no depth in the starting rotation beyond the 5 that, you couldn't pull Aaron Nola out of the rotation even if you wanted to at this point. A lot of this goes on Dave Dombrowski, and in fact, all of it goes on Dave Dombrowski. And I think that's where the more I think of it as we got to Memorial Day, the more I kept thinking, boy, this is a Dombrowski mess, and Thompson had to pay the price for it.
And then, when you say it's a Dombrowski mess, people would say, okay, you fired the manager. If the team doesn't kind of come to life, then what? Do you agree with me that Dombrowski's not the kind of guy that you can fire? Like, is he too accomplished to be, hey, buddy, you're fired? How does that work? What is the separation like?
Well, I mean, the one thing that, you could say he won a World Series the one year and then got fired by the Red Sox the following September. So it has happened. I mean, he got fired in Detroit. He has been fired before, but I know what you're saying because this is a guy that's going to end up most likely in the Hall of Fame. I would make the argument that a separation is going to be, we trust Preston Mattingly. Dave is turning 70 in July. He wants to enjoy the good life. He wants to help work on the Nashville expansion franchise, which will probably get awarded after whatever labor dispute takes place. I think that's the most likely scenario even in this off season. I think Dombrowski walks away and it will be one of those. I don't think John Middleton's going to beg him to stay. Let's put that.
Right. So, listen, I said before, Dombrowski, has he done an awful job? Obviously not. 96 wins, World Series, multiple playoff appearances. He hasn't done an awful job. However, he hasn't done a job to put a good team over the top. And that is where they have lacked that over-the-top type of move. And it's not for lack of trying, Kevin. They tried with Turner. That didn't work. They've tried with, bringing Nola back. And then, you kept bringing some of these guys back and spending the money. It feels like he's never made the peripheral move. He's never really done that. And that is what has really haunted this team, that he's made them a very good team, but he hasn't put them over the top.
Well, and I'll say this. I mean, I'll take it two ways. You're right. And it's the right field situation is the prime example, or the outfield situation between Kepler and, picking up Bader for half a year and then letting him walk, and then Garcia right now and all that. He's never really addressed it and filled the gaps they've had. They gave Justin Crawford no time last year. They did not bring him up to get adjusted to the majors, and then they gave him the starting center field job this year. And I'm not saying Crawford's bad. I think Crawford's got a future. But the point is, those moves, as you said, on the edges are what separates really, really good teams from World Series winners. And he has not done that. I'll disagree with you on one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had a problem with the Turner signing. Maybe the years and everything, but everybody wanted Trey Turner.
I don't think it was a bad. You're right. Everybody wanted. I'm saying it has not worked out for them, and now they're really stuck with this deal.
No, so I'm kind of discounting that a little bit.
And by the way, it just didn't make the impact you thought it would coming off of a World Series appearance. And now you add that level of player. You're thinking, wow, he's exactly what this team lacked. The guy that hits for average and he's on base and he steals bases, and the impact has just not been there.
And Trey Turner is the perfect example of you watch him against the Phillies all those years and you thought you knew the player. And you now see him every night, and you realize you really didn't know that he's a free swinger, that he goes into these prolonged slumps. But I'll give you that the contract I'll disagree with you the most on is Nola. Somebody, if this is an analytics-based organization like we've been told for a decade now, okay, somebody had to look at Nola's amount of innings. They had to look at the track record of guys over 30 and say you cannot give him a 7-year deal. Even if he walked to the Braves, and the Braves were the other suitor in this, even if he walked to the Braves, you could not possibly give him a 7-year deal because you knew at least the last 3 years of that was a high injury risk. Now you're talking year 3 of it, and it's become a disaster.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, you kind of hinted at it. There's no way out of that. I mean, you got 4 years at $25 million. You kind of kept tiptoeing around Taijuan Walker, where you sent him to the bullpen, you didn't use him. You got 4 years to have to tiptoe around this situation.
Yeah, and I just don't. I will not get why they felt that we've seen this with all teams. We saw it with the Eagles in 17. We've seen it with the Phillies back in their run, 07 to 11. When you start getting sentimental, that's when you run into problems. And they got sentimental on Aaron Nola. They ignored the facts that were right in front of them, which was that's going to be a really declining bad contract, and it cost them Ranger Suarez. That, to me, is maybe Dombrowski's biggest sin.
Kevin Cooney from the Cooney Report. Check out his Substack. And we're talking a little bit about Dombrowski and the role he has in this team that has kind of turned into about a 500 team right now. The Nola contract, you're stuck with that. The Turner contract, you're really stuck with that. You've got those two things kind of anchoring them down. But you talked about the lack of right-handed bat. They have not had a right-handed bat since Rhys Hoskins left. The right-handed lineup that they put out there, they had JT Realmuto hitting 5th in the lineup the other day. I mean, I don't know how you as an organization can pan that lineup card in with that name in the 5 hole and then someone doesn't say, Dave, we can't keep doing this. So does something, do you think that something drastic does get done when you look at this lineup and what it's putting out? By the way, Walker Buehler, a guy you let walk out of here, and he hasn't had a great season. He's shutting you out right now. So is this the year that finally John Middleton says, Dave, you kept selling me on this team and selling me on this team. You've got to change something up.
Well, look, I think it depends where they are July 30th. Like when we get to that point. The right-handed bat is what is the most glaring weakness they have. And I saw David Murphy wrote about this in the Inquirer today. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, and everybody in Millville should clutch their pearls. I don't want Mike Trout. Just the injury history is too much. If you're giving me a choice between Mike Trout and Byron Buxton, one is always injured, two is always injured, but I think I have a little more faith that maybe you could get more out of Buxton coming down the stretch and staying healthy than I could Trout. That's obviously, though, going to be the major key. Their bullpen is fine. They don't need a back end of the bullpen guy. Maybe they need another starter rotation-wise. But it screams 1, 2, and 3 is we need about 2 right-handed bats in this lineup. And I think that's clearly where they are if they're going to be a buyer at the deadline.
Well, you know it's bad, Kevin, when Andrew McCutchen got DFA'd about an hour ago, and people are like, he might be a right-handed bat. I mean, you're talking about a 39-year-old guy who really doesn't even play in the outfield anymore. But, you're at the point now where you signed Kepler for $10 million. That didn't work. Garcia for $10 million. That didn't work, or it's not working right now. How many bites of the apple do you keep getting before you say, hey, listen, these one-year deals are not working. We've got to figure something else out. And to the point where you say, you have not done a good enough job. We might need a different philosophy on building this roster because we're not getting rid of Harper. We can't get rid of Turner. We don't get rid of Schwarber. You've got Real Muto for 3 more years. I mean, you're still stuck with this core for a good run here still.
Oh, the 2028 Phillies are going to be awful. I mean, let's just be frank and real between the idea that, you're going to probably have some sort of salary restriction in place more than the luxury tax. It may get grandfathered a little bit, but the 28th, and there's nothing in the minor league system. You're going, yeah, I got that because, the one guy, Adrian Miller, you would think would be up here at that point. You don't know how healthy he is with the back. With the back. So I agree with you, and that's why, I could easily see at the end of the year Dombrowski and the Phillies parting ways, and they kind of turn it over to another leadership thing, which is Preston Manley, who's done a decent job in a lot of ways. Learning on the job. Of course, that leads to a tricky point of. You want Preston overseeing his dad potentially as a manager, and
I know you and I have had.
That's a whole different can of worms.
It is, and you and I have had a lot of conversations regarding, you're looking at Mattingly managing this team. Is he doing things differently? Is he doing things better? Is he a better manager? And I wonder how much input that he has to say, guys, we're not going to do this. Can his son tell him, hey, Dad, this is the way we're doing this? Or does Dad get a chance to say, hey, we need to change some things. We need to maybe let our pitchers go a little longer. Or maybe, there are some little things that you wonder as he had some input that he can tell his son that maybe Rob Thompson wasn't allowed to say or do.
As a stepdad, not a dad, I can tell you, I can say anything to my stepkids and they're not going to listen.
Well, no offense to you, you're not a Hall of Fame. You're not a Hall of Fame left-handed hitter.
Well, neither's Don, unfortunately, at this point. But that's a whole different story.
Borderline, he would have been.
Borderline, yeah. Trust me, I would vote for him. But that's a whole different story. Look, in my mind, this is where the Dombrowski thing also comes in interesting with this as well. If Dombrowski at 70 or 71 does stick, he's going to hire Alex Cora. He already tried to hire Alex Cora. he's gonna make another run at this. That probably means Manley's out of the organization. Are you super comfortable with it? And I'm not sure I would be at this point.
Right. Kevin Cooney, the Cooney Report on Substack. Check it out, kevincooney.substack.com. We're talking a little bit about, and I the basis of my show the other day was after I saw Real Muto in the 5-hole, I just said, listen, this is ridiculous. They've got to do something different. And Dombrowski, as you wrote as well, it seems that I don't know how you keep moving forward with the same philosophy. But you have the trade deadline coming up. Is this finally the year that he says we're doing something? Bohm's gone, Stott's done, prospects or something, or do they just ride this out one more time? What is your anticipation with that?
It's still awful early to say.
We're almost at June.
I know, but the other question would be financially, how much are they willing to go on? Now, look, they're going to get a bump this summer because of the fact there's a lot of people who bought tickets who want to go to the All-Star game or try to get in the All-Star game. That place will be pretty packed most of the summer. But are they worried maybe about the finances going forward after the lockout? And does that maybe hinder Middleton from going a little bit in? Perhaps. If it's up to Dombrowski, I think at this point you'll find out by July 30th if he's all in for next year. Because honestly, if he sells whatever's left on the farm to go get what he wants for this year, that tells you that he's probably thinking this is it for him as well.
Well, you said they don't have a lot on the farm to even move. I know Crawford, we're not pulling the plug on him, but how long this season do you let him you just keep rolling him out there as his numbers, start to dip and dive on base percentage, under 3, batting average down to 229? I mean, at what point do you say maybe he's not ready?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but the problem is, okay, let's say you trade for one of the two big outfielders, Buxton or Trout, okay? If in a year they're both unable to go on, now you've traded Crawford as well. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, do you put him down in the minors? This is why they should have brought him up last year, even if it was September, just to get a little taste of things. He's kind of been thrown to the wolves here, and that's not good.
Yeah. Well, and you're seeing, down in AAA, he hit like 340 against lefties. Well, up here, he's hitting 081. They're not even using him against lefties. They've essentially now given Marsh bats against lefty. And I would ask you, Kevin, how realistic of a contender are you if Brandon Marsh is really your second or third best offensive option?
Yeah, well, let's be clear. He's third. It's still Schwarber. It's still Harper. And that's the problem. They're a contender because of the two starting pitchers. And they're one of those teams that if they get into the tournament, teams are going to be sweating because they'll have to face Sanchez on Wheeler.
Yep.
But there's a doom point in that because when you get to they're better off a best of 5 than they are a best of 7. In a best of 7, they will get exposed pretty quickly.
Yep. I look at where this team kind of is right now. They're about a 500 team. They got themselves back to 500. Do you anticipate, is it a rite of passage that they will go on another run here and be a playoff team? Or is this the beginning of what you said, the demise? We saw it in 2012, I guess, where that team was just 500. They just couldn't get past it, and they were 81-81, and that started a 10-year run of ineptitude. Is this the beginning of that run, or do they get out of this?
I think it's different than that 12 team. Remember that 2012 team, Ryan Howard missed the first half of the season. Chase Utley missed a large portion of the first half of the season with the Crown of Malaysia. That doomed them. And to be honest, in August and September when they both came back, they actually played pretty decent baseball. This is a team, to be honest, Mike, they're probably going to be the third wild card. They're probably going to win about 85, 86 games. They're not winning the division. We know that. It's going to be Atlanta. you look at the rest of the National League, 2 teams in the Central and Milwaukee, and you figure Chicago will turn it around at some point. There are probably 2 teams in the West in San Diego and the Dodgers. And then last is for grabs, and they'll probably have enough talent to get to that point and to get through it and end up playing, let's say, Milwaukee in the first round of the playoffs. And, at that point, then all bets are off.
All right. Well, obviously, long season to go. By the way, Christopher Sanchez still is dealing zeros. He's got 2 outs in the 5th here, and the Phillies have yet to help him out. It is 0-0. Phil's, by the way, 9 games back of the Braves. As Kevin mentioned, the division seems to be pretty much done.
It's over.
Yeah,
It's
they are
over.
just a game and a half out if you're wild card watching. So they are in that wild card mix with a bunch of different teams. It should be a very interesting summer, as it always is. But now, as we're seeing the sand go through the hourglass on many of the stars, make sure you check out Kevin's Substack. He's got a great article that we could probably touch on at another time on his confidence index on the 4 teams in town. We can dive into that one. But everybody out there, if you want to check out his confidence index on the Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers, check out kevincooney.substack.com, at Kevin Cooney on the Twitter X platform. Kevin, I always enjoy talking ball with you, man.
Anytime, Mike. You know that.
All right, there he is, Kevin Cooney, everybody. Check out the Cooney Report, his Cooney Report on Substack. And Kevin, of course, has been around for a long, long time covering Philadelphia sports. And we'll be talking to Kevin, throughout the summer. We're going to certainly have his Cooney Report right here on the Sports Desk. I just love talking ball with Cooney, just a old school, rigid baseball guy. And, he's right. The Dombrowski thing, as I kind of opined on Tuesday, and I'm not like hot taking this of like, he stinks, he's been awful. You got the people who, call him Dombrowski. Look, Dave Dombrowski's won World Series, multiple organizations. He has taken bad organizations and made them winners. This Phillies team, remember, from 2012 to 2021 was flipping horrendous. And he made baseball important in this town again. For 10 years, nobody cared about the Phillies. They were an afterthought. Even in 2019, when they got Bryce Harper, that building was half empty. Nobody cared about the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski made you care about the Phillies again. So I give him the credit for that. But he has gotten them to a certain point, and his vision of what baseball is like in 2026 doesn't seem to be working. Let's go get the 1-year, $10 million veteran player who's a little older, and we hope he refines it. No, Adolis Garcia just doesn't have it anymore. Max Kepler last year didn't make any sense. Let's just keep kind of plugging holes. I think what Kevin said, I said the other day, you brought back JT Realmuto for 3 years, $45 million, because you're telling me in the previous 5 years, 4 years, whatever it's been, you didn't have the foresight to say, you know what, JT's getting older. We might have to try to figure out what to do with the catching position. Now, you traded Tyee last year, traded Logan O'Hoppe to get Brandon Marsh. It's funny. People hated Brandon Marsh. Now everybody's throwing in your face how good Marsh is. Like, he made. I tweeted out the other day, and there's like all these Dombrowskis. I wonder if he has a burner account. I have all these Dombrowski people like, oh, he traded for Brandon Marsh. And I'm like, okay, it was a nice trade, but where were you complaining about Brandon Marsh 2022 to now that he's not good enough? All of a sudden, he gets off to a hot start, and people are talking about the guy should be an MVP candidate, and it's the best trade they ever made. I like Brandon Marsh. He's done a nice job. I don't know that I put a lot of confidence level in my team and their ultimate ceiling if Brandon Marsh is one of the top 3 guys I'm relying on. When I have Adolis Garcia in my lineup every day, I don't have a lot of expectations. When I have JT Realmuto hitting 5th one day in my lineup, I have to say, what are we doing? I'm starting to look at, again, I'm not writing off Justin Crawford. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying that guy can't play, but he's struggling mightily right now. He's really struggling right now. And you wonder, how much longer can you keep saying every single day we're going to pencil him into play center field? He's not a great defensive player. He's good. He's not great. But they need a guy like that. They need a guy that puts the ball in play, doesn't strike out all that much, has good speed. And so far, it's a shame that it hasn't, he got off to such a great start, and people were talking about hitting him lead off. Why don't they hit Crawford lead off? This is why. This is why. He's a young kid. By the way, he is 22 years old, and I get it. We're always the first person to say, hey, if you can play, you can play. And I would be an advocate for saying, let these young kids come up here and play. But they're also young kids sometimes, and they're going to struggle. And he's struggling right now. There's no two ways on how bad he's struggling. We'll talk some more, Phils. Your reaction to Kevin Cooney and what he had to say, by the way. Last night I talked about Real Muto. I blasted him. He hits a home run. I blasted Turner. He hit a home run. And as I'm talking about Crawford, he got a base hit. All right, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phils are tied 0-0 with the Padres. Looking for the sweep. History made today for the Phillies. We'll explain next. All right, history made today for the Phils as Christopher Sanchez has his scoreless inning streak extended. He has passed Grover, Cleveland, Alexander for the longest scoreless streak in Phillies franchise history, and that is continuing because they are still scoreless in San Diego. By the way, Edmundo Sosa was hit in the hand, and he has left the game. Actually, no. Did he leave the game? They were looking at him. I didn't see if he ended up coming out of the game. I spoke too soon on that.
I didn't see him leave the game.
All right, so I'll have to keep an eye on that.
But also, I can't see him who's at first base.
Because he looked like he got hit in the hand. That ball is ripped. So the Phillies are going to get the first run, and that's where Crawford's speed comes into play. And that's what you need. You need that speed, and there's Crawford getting a hit, and that's why it's so big. You get Crawford getting on base. Now you got Schwarber hitting in the leadoff spot. He comes up the bat. People complain about him not having guys on base. When you have the speed like Crawford on base, he's able to score on a single to right field. Plus, you got Castellanos playing right field.
I was going to say it helps that Castellanos is in right field.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought Sosa left the game. It looked like
he looked like he was a lot of pain.
Well, he got hit in the hand, and it looked like they were attending to him. And I don't know why I assumed that he got taken out of the game, but I don't know. Is he on? He might have gone first or third.
They haven't shown who's on base at all, so not helpful.
So Christopher Sanchez, though, that streak, by the way, has since 1883. That streak has gone on, and it's continuing to go on. And now the Phillies have a lead, and they have scored. There's Sosa right there, so he is in the game. So Sosa got hit in the hand. They attended to him. He stayed in the game, and now it looks like a fielder's choice for Trey Turner is going to get the Phillies their second run. They get the out at second base. Sosa scores, and Turner's over at first. So it's 2-0 Phillies. Christopher Sanchez continuing with this scoreless inning streak. Now, I was around for the Hershiser one. Remember that at all?
Dodgers, yeah.
59 2/3, I think.
The Bulldog.
What he had. Hey, I wouldn't crazy to say that Sanchez can approach that now. I mean, he is looking so locked in right now.
The crazy thing about Hershiser is that it's not like he had like some 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Like he just was so crafty at working the hitters and getting them off balance and making them just not want to be in that batter's box.
Yeah, he was awesome. And he has that 59 2/3, I believe it is, scoreless inning streak for Oral Hershiser.
I used to be a Hershiser guy. I used to be impressed with how he used to be able to work the corners and work hitters. And then he had the arm injury, and then he had a solid rest of his career after the injury, but he was never the same.
Nope, he had a run. He had a run from
how the Dodgers won the World Series
to 89. In that little run there, he was an all-star Cy Young level. I think he after that, he just was never the same. But
yeah, after the arm injury, he was never the same guy. I mean, he had some solid years after. Remember, he's part of the Indians team that went to the World Series.
Yep, won a Cy Young, finished third, I think, twice. So, yep, I remember Oral. He was definitely in my high school days.
He was a stud.
All right, Jerky, let's go. You sound like you're salivating over Oral Hershiser. I want to direct you another direction. Jeez.
You're the one who brought it up. So a couple of things to get to. We have been talking. We'll start with the baseball here. So this was before Christopher Sanchez broke the record today, but John Heyman was on. Wow, what a play by the pitcher there. Bryce Harper just lined the ball out to the pitcher and he just snagged it. So John Heyman, who covers baseball for a long time, he was on MLB Network earlier today, and he was asked about who he's picking for the Cy Young, and Mike, he is leaning toward the betting favorite, which is Christopher Sanchez, not just right now, but potentially by the end of the year as well.
This is an amazing competition. I mean, to leave out Ohtani with a 0.73 ERA, Chris Sale, I'm leaving out Mizorowski, has been basically unhittable over his last 6 starts, basically for the entire season. But I've got Christopher Sanchez, who's got 37 and 2/3 scoreless in a row at this point. He's been amazing. Mizorowski obviously leads in strikeouts, but he is second. Sanchez is first in innings at 37 and 2/3 scoreless in a row, 32 inning perfectly in terms of runs in May, but 37 2/3 is only behind Grover Alexander for the organization. So that is a pretty good mark, 37 and 2/3 scoreless.
Now, again, that was this morning, so obviously the numbers are a little bit still. He is so impressed by Sanchez. He says, I don't care what Mizorowski's doing. This guy, Sanchez, has to be the Cy Young Award winner if things keep going as they are. And I think that's pretty wild to think about that. You know, the Philadelphia Phillies, this is a guy in Sanchez who you came in, you brought it up earlier today, Mike, about how many times we talked about no one thought he was going to be this.
No, but Mizorowski, I will tell you, I mean, his ERA is 0.83. I mean, if you're not going to stay under 1, but my gosh, with those
183.
numbers. Oh, excuse me, his whip is 0.83.
Yeah,
his
whip is
whip is 0.83.
Right.
That is, I love whip. To me, whip is the number. His ERA is 183. His whip is 0.83. Sanchez is 162. His whip is 115. The 083 number is the most impressive there. He also has 100 strikeouts. 100 strikeouts in 64 innings. Sanchez has 86 strikeouts in 72 innings entering the day.
Correct.
To me, the number of the whip and the strikeouts in innings pitch, Mizorowski's 14 strikeouts per 9 is way more impressive than Sanchez. Listen, I want to see Sanchez. He's my favorite pitcher. I like the changeup and the craftiness of the power and the craftiness of Sanchez more than I just like the raw power of Mizorowski. But those numbers are going to pop off the page for voters, I think.
I think it definitely pop off the page for the voter. But my question is the voter going to look at Sanchez and say, hey, listen, Mizorowski might have the eye-popping strikeout numbers, but Sanchez might have the better other numbers, right? The wins above replacement, the ERA, so which is more
ERAs
valuable?
Are close. The wins, they both have 11 starts. Sanchez has 8 quality, Mizorowski 6. Now Sanchez is going to have another quality start after today. Their ERAs are similar. Their wins-loss are similar. Sanchez has more innings. Mizorowski's only given up 34 hits in 64 innings. Sanchez gives up almost a hit per inning.
He does.
That's a huge 34 hits in 64 innings. I mean, that's half. That's half. So
it sounds like you're disagreeing with John Heyman here.
The only thing I would ask is Mizorowski, does he have the length here? Can he go the whole season? Right. He has never done that before. Will he kind of hit the wall at some point where Sanchez has now gone through this once, twice? This is his third foray now into Cy Young conversation. And I mean, he's still dealing like in the 6th inning here, and he looks as good as he did in the first. I do think Mizorowski's numbers right now, I would say, are more impressive than Sanchez's are. But the difference is I think Sanchez has more staying power than Mizorowski does.
Gotcha. All right. Well, listen.
Between him, though, by the way, Mizorowski's team.
Oh, what a play.
Crawford might have just kept that scoreless inning streak going. I think that might have been out. That might have been a home run if he didn't catch that ball.
What a play by Justin Crawford.
Oh, Manny Machado. Wow, that ball may have gone out. Let's take a look again when they show the replay here. If, in fact,
they
that
showed
ball,
Sanchez had a big smile on his face, too.
Well, Sanchez was clapping and pounding his glove. Let's see if this would have gone out.
It would have been close.
It would have been close. That was a bad angle. Let's see this. Oh, that's out. That would have been out.
That would have been a laser shot out.
Yeah, that ball would have got out just by like minimally out, but I think that would have been out.
I think Sanchez needs to buy Crawford a dinner tonight.
So Sanchez acknowledging that his scoreless inning streak is still intact because of that catch just made by Justin Crawford, who, has not been the greatest center fielder, but he just made a play right there to keep that going. That said, there are some whips this year, 085, 083, 087, 096, 099. I mean, Sanchez is behind all those guys in the whip category. Now, one area where he has been pretty big, strikeouts per 9. he is right behind Mizorowski. I say right behind. Mizorowski's 14.1 per 9. Sanchez is 10.7. He's number 2 in that category. So it should be, there's a lot of people. And by the way, he just got through the inning. So add another inning to his scoreless inning streak. But with the help of Justin Crawford. That being said, that Cy Young conversation is going to have a lot of very interesting names in it.
Oh,
now,
it's gonna be
Ohtani
fun.
does not qualify for these numbers yet, but I would imagine he will be a factor in this race,
Right.
as will Zach Wheeler, because he does not qualify yet either.
Ohtani only has 49 innings pitched. He would have needed 55 coming into today to qualify for the ERA.
But he'll be in there, and so will Wheeler, and those two guys' numbers are eye-popping as well. Ohtani's are ridiculous.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the reason why Ohtani's a very interesting situation because he had that one game where he didn't pitch very well, and they took him out of the game early. They thought he got injured earlier this year. So that's why his innings are so low, is because he had that one start where he basically went like 3 innings. Whereas, usually Ohtani goes like 5-6 innings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ohtani, I think they're just kind of working him and not wanting to use him too much.
Yeah.
That's obvious. I mean, his numbers are down. It's not like the guy's been stinking and they have to keep getting him out of these games. No, they just want to keep his workload down.
Which is fine. Makes sense. They're the Dodgers. They're they get all the money in the world. Anyway, let's get back to the football. So there were a couple of comments made by players today, Mike, that I wanted to get to here for Josh's Jerky, because I was kind of paying attention to Hurts and Saquon, because I know Nick Sirianni ain't going to say anything of substance. I mean, that guy has barely ever said anything worthwhile, as Geoff Mosher pointed out earlier today. But there was one of the comments that Hurts was asked about playing under center. He was asked, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, said, hey, past offenses, you guys didn't play under center as much. This is an offense. They asked the quarterback to play under center more. How does Hurts feel about it? I thought Jalen's answer to this is very interesting.
You can throw anyone under center. I think that the question you ask is why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you doing? What are you complimenting? What's your MO behind what you do? And so philosophically, it's different than what we've done in the past. I think generally speaking, in the action game, you're influencing different players, running different play action schemes, where it's a pull scheme or a gap scheme or inside zone, outside zone. So there's a whole idea, and one thing that I really appreciate what he's saying.
This goes back to what I said earlier, that he sounds like he's trusting more of the answers to the questions that he is giving. He's asking questions and he's getting answers that he's okay with, or that
makes sense,
that are sufficient to him. Whereas before, it feels like he might have been asking questions. Well, why are we going under center here? Well, we just need to change things up. That's not a good enough answer for Jalen Hurts, apparently.
And I have to wonder, we talked about when Mannion first got hired about him being a former quarterback. How does that factor into things? Well, does that factor into this conversation, Mike, that maybe Mannion...
But it sounds like Nick Castellanos not wanting to listen to Rob Thompson.
Not listening. I mean, he listened to Steichen, and he was a runner for MVP, and Steichen was not a former quarterback. But I'm just saying the communication style between specifically Patullo versus Mannion.
Oh, there's no question. From what I've heard so far, Hurts seems to... Is respect the right word? He certainly values what Mannion says and how he's answering questions more than he feels Patullo did. There's no question in my mind about that.
And sticking with the under center conversation, Saquon Barkley was asked about this offense playing under center more, and Barkley wanted to give a running back's perspective of why he likes the quarterback playing under center more.
Yeah, under center, you can see it a little clear. You're not blinded, and when you're in gun, you're really kind of focused on this side. You're able to get your shoulder square easier. I don't know what that means. Like when if you have an inside run from gun, you got to really work on getting your shoulder square so you can see the whole field. From under center is easier. You can get downhill a little quicker. You could threaten them with stretches and outside zone a lot more. There's a lot of unique things you can do. And yeah, it's not no secret what the system is about. And look forward to doing that. Probably be the most I've ever done it under center too, and outside zone and all that good stuff. But it's a challenge I'm looking forward to work on and getting better at and trying to be the best at it.
Yeah. So, by the way, asterisk here. Saquon Barkley had over 2,000 yards primarily out of the shotgun.
He did.
That being said, this could be where they blend. When Mannion said blending the offense, the strong suits of the running game that they had before, blend it with now more under center looks that should help them get a lot better view. Listen, I definitely think the team still wants Barkley to be the main focus of this offense. Last year, it couldn't be because the offensive line was skedaddled.
Yeah, the offensive line was trash.
This hour of the show brought to you by Boxing Insider Promotions.
The biggest heavyweight showdown in South Jersey boxing history is Saturday, June 13th. 2 undefeated South Jersey fighters in action. Holy Spirit High School graduate Josh Popper versus Absegami High School graduate Bruce Sullivan Jr. Joining a stacked card. It also features New Jersey super bantamweight John Leonardo, along with Pleasantville super lightweight Julio Sanchez III, are all in action inside Tropicana Atlantic City showroom Saturday, June 13th. Tickets on sale now for this event at Ticketmaster.com. The ultimate South Jersey heavyweight showdown. 2 undefeated South Jersey fighters in action. Selden Jr. versus Popper, Tropicana showroom in Atlantic City, June 13th, presented by Boxing Insider Promotions.
2-0 Phils lead it in the 7th. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. All right, getting ready to get out of here. A double for the Padres. Nick Castellanos is up. Can you imagine if Nick Castellanos is the one that ends this scoreless inning streak? There's a runner on second with one out here in the seventh. Castellanos, who stinks that loud, man. He just swung and missed at that pitch. Like, not even close. Not even the same zip code, area code, country. Castellanos has a chance with a runner on second and one out. Sanchez has already broken the record. And now he's continuing to push on with one out in the seventh. Castellanos, okay, there's the second out of the inning. He ground balls to Turner. So there's two down, runner on second. Back tomorrow, we could be talking about real history. We'll dive into that. Thursday, football at 4, fastball, all that and more. Have a great night, everybody. The Eastern night.